Hi guys, good morning. It has just gone 10 o'clock and welcome to SportX Forum, the partnership edition. My name is Gerrit Davids, and once again, today's focus would be on why we need to give back in the sports sector at large. And I'm going to be joined by an esteemed panel of thought leaders, and essentially, we're going to look as to what works in the industry of grassroots and community sports development, as well as we're going to launch the Sport X Impact Fund and Alliance, or SIFA in short. So we have an amazing lineup, as I've mentioned, of thought leaders and founders who will each share with us what it is that they are doing in the grassroots ecosystem and even elite sports segments of this vibrant community made up of sports enthusiasts, volunteers, coaches, administrators, etc. Also, you are free to share your comments on the platform you are watching the forum from, and hopefully to share some of your thoughts during the webcast. We would try and access some of your comments and stream it on the webcast as well. Also to note that in relation to SIFA, the fund, the impact fund that we want to launch, it is not the formation of a new organization or an NGO. And this SportX live stream is managed by our company, Jerome Media Sports and Entertainment. And the purpose is to create a platform to exchange knowledge in this specific ecosystem. Okay, so what I essentially want to do is, perhaps before we get our first speaker in a few minutes, I see she's not online as yet, basically just to touch on a few trends that I picked up in my research and attending other webinars. And the question then, what we as people who are active in the ecosystem, when we do a kind of a review of what we do in our programs, in our foundations, in our clubs, in our academies, but also how do we do research as to what is now working, what are the trends, and how do we not necessarily just integrate, but also adapt it to our needs. Okay, so I see one of our first speakers, Oji Molefe, has joined the stage, but we will get to him later on. So let me just go through this, what works in the sports development ecosystem. So when we start out with our dreams, our vision, and our ideas, we have this bold, big, wide vision as to what is it that we would do, and also who is it that we will impact on, who will benefit from what is it that we would do. And we will have volumes and volumes of strategic plans that would accompany our vision. But as it is with the trend on the internet that we've seen over the last few years, is that you're going to become more effective if you go hyper-local, meaning to say, where you sit, where you stand, you look around in your community and you say, what is it that I can best do for them in terms of their needs, which you have researched. So you look at NGOs, you look at schools, you look at businesses, and you say, now, this is what we have identified as a genuine, real need within our community. And can we pull our sources together and to give impact where it's much needed? So essentially what we are saying is that when it comes to partnerships, go local as opposed to trying to look provincial, national, continental, or even international for that matter. So another trend that we picked up in research is that more and more organizations are using digital tools to track engagement. How is it that the beneficiaries that are part of our program, or that we need or want to impact, and we need to assess the impact of what we deliver on them. For example, if we have regular five-a-side football games on a weekend at the local pitch, have we done kind of like an impact survey as to how did that impact on the reduction of crime over that weekend? Because now people are gathering as a community, just as an example. Or our after school care program, how did that then in turn improve the marks of the students in the program? So we need to become more data driven focused and present that impact to potential funders or partners for that matter. Another trend that we kind of pick up is that, albeit that if you just want to focus on a specific sports code, um, you need to reconcile yourself with the fact that you're going to exclude people from the process. So if you say that this program is entirely going to focus on athletics, there would be people who are not able enough to participate. And then you need to come up with something in a space. There's always space available. And you would say, okay, my resources allows me to cater for 3 to 4 to 5 different sports coaches within the development, within grassroots, within community sports development for that matter. Okay, so you need to say, how can I maximize as to what I got? See, a lot of times we want to say, we'll start when we obtain the resources, but in many instances, the resources are already in front of us. Then a next a trend and has sort of become a necessity, as opposed just to get our coaches and upskill them around the technical conversation of what they must deliver. We also need to impart soft skills on them. The big thing in sport and recreation where children are part of that process is safeguarding. FIFA, IOC, the whole world. In fact, there's a conference next month or this month in Cape Town, I think at UCT, that talks about safe sport. Okay, you can maybe Google that aspect and see what the conversation is going to be around safeguarding in sport. Also, mentorship, and this is a big lack within our development, whether it's now sport, business, social interventions, whatever the case may be. We tend not to focus on mentorship. Mentorship can change the trajectory of the impact if we then work with the soft skills of the beneficiaries that we have in mind. So talking about that social impact, and how does your intervention, your foundation, your NGO, NPO, academy, and the like, or club for that matter, have you had a conversation around that your sport intervention, your program, could be then a solution to the reduction of health challenges that we have in our society? I spoke at a mental health conference last month. I know nothing about the subject matter, but I talked about all intelligence. How can we use all the intelligence and the data, the people's thinking, their mind, their brains that we have at hand? How can we then use that to kind of find solutions to the triple challenge, unemployment, inequality, and poverty, our three biggest, or we call it the triple challenge. So let's just see how we can then purely place our intervention into the needs of society to create that social impact which we all strive for. Then, as I've mentioned, resources are available. We are looking for the perfect resource, and that is perhaps the problem. So I've read a statement the other day. It says the idea should be 1% of the equation. Execution should be 99% of the equation. And even if it's ready only 30%, we need to execute, because we're waiting for execution to be almost perfect, and then our program, our intervention never see the light of day. So make an assessment of to the resources that you have at hand, as well as to how that can be used to make it even more inclusive. Okay, OG Molefe is involved in a focus of golf development, but there's also golf football. How do we bring that into the equation for people who are not inclined or have the paradigm mindset to become a good golfer? Okay, so we need to look at what are other resources that we have at hand. How can we expand that and create micro spaces for other people to make it more inclusive? I've mentioned this thing about the digital approach that we need to integrate. Yesterday, I was watching a webinar with the Minister of Tourism, and she said, why is it that we are not using content creators or the old word influencers to assist us in marketing South Africa as a preferred destination? So the tools are there. Admittedly, we use it mainly for entertainment, but we can also then even run courses, as you would know, on WhatsApp, TikTok, Instagram, and the like. WhatsApp lends itself to any application where it comes to development of whatsoever type or nature for that matter. Then this is a big thing, and we're going to talk about this when we present the Sports Impact Fund later on. And it's first-party data, okay? Coca-Cola in America changed advertising agencies simply because the one said to Coca-Cola, we will do your advertising where it matters, and then we'll capture the detail of the purchaser, because now you advertise, you don't know who's buying Coca-Cola. But if you go with us on Amazon, on the platforms that they have, I can't get to all of them now, we can see who are the people who purchase your product, and then you can market directly to them. So it's first-party data with permission. Your participants in your program or intervention, that data is an asset, it's a mine, and you can use it obviously according with POPIA, the Protection of Private Information, the Act in itself, and just use it to your own advantage in partnership with funders and commercial brands for that matter. Then we also need to find ways to turn volunteerism. Sometimes, it's not perhaps possible all the time, we need to turn it into a paid incentive. What is it that we can raise in terms of money that we can say to a volunteer, here's a stipend, or here's a token of appreciation of your role within this ecosystem. So in essence, what I'm trying to say before we get to this point, all of these trends that we are seeing, in fact, you can use it as a starting point for a brainstorming session. Inclusivity. You need to be very deliberate about inclusivity, as I've mentioned earlier on. Just not girls, just not the people with this disability that can't run around the track, but they could do other things in terms of recreation. So the focus is just not on sport development, but on recreation as well. So try and be inclusive as possible with your program. So what are we seeing is that programs like yourself, foundations, academies, clubs, federations, etc., we need to move from just running a program because it's funded or we're looking for funding. We need to look at all, perhaps the cogs that I've just showed you. We need to say, how can we bring that into our ecosystem and move from running programs and say that this thing is built for economic impact, it's built for socio-economic impact, and ultimately it will then assist with community development. I'll close there, and essentially what I'm saying is that feel free to share your views through whatsoever means, email, LinkedIn, Facebook, and even this platform. So that is where I would stop as an introduction, and I'm going to add OG Molefe to the stage. Let me just get rid of my presentation here, remove it from the studio, and hopefully I can add, I'm running solo here. So where is OG? He's supposed to be there. His mic is muted. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm adding you to the stage. Okay.
Gerrit, I can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, but we can't see you, OG.
I think I'm going to have to apologize because you're catching me in the middle of covering a golf tournament. So I was
Okay. No, great. Look, Andra
waiting,
Nell was
agreeing to find a spot for you.
Okay, no problem. We'll forgive you this time around. We'll do another interview with the face once you are not engaged. Okay, OG. So essentially, welcome for coming along. And OG Molefe, some of you know him as a journalist, but he's also the founder of the OG Molefe Foundation. Just shooting straight from the hip, OJ, what is it that your foundation do?
Gerard, firstly, let me thank you
Go ahead. Seems like OJ has got some
for putting
connection
this
problems
together,
there.
and just from some of the stuff that you've said, just can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes. We have got a bit of a
Can you hear
connection
me,
problem,
Gerard?
but continue. We can hear you.
Am I back on?
Yes, yes, you're on. Yeah, just for everybody, we'll sort this out later. Technically, OG has got a bit of challenge there with connection. You back, OG? You back? Okay. It doesn't look like we're getting any luck with OG. OG, let's just try again in a few minutes, and in the meantime, I will bring in Andra. I'll keep you there, and I'll just add Andra to the stage. Good morning, Andra. You muted, Andra.
Good morning, everybody. Hi, it's lovely
Good
to be here.
morning. Good morning. Yeah, thanks for coming along. Andra is the corporate affairs manager at KFC. I don't know if that's just KFC or KFC Africa. And welcome to the SportXForum. And tell us more about the work that KFC is doing in the community, and more so in grassroots sports development, and in particular, your long-standing partnership with Cricket South Africa, and talking about this theme as to why we should give back. And to start off with that question, what is it that the program does from the outset for us to understand?
So, Gerard, I think it's incredible to be able to have this discussion, but it's important to start off with why we're doing this. So, as a brand, we know that we are because of the people of South Africa, and we can't succeed in communities that fail. So, at our core, we invest back into communities because it's the right thing to do, but at the same time, it's also good for business. Because if we want to continue operating in communities, we need to make sure that those communities are thriving. And that's really at the ethos and the heart of what we do. So our partnership with Mini Cricket is now in its 17th year. And in my mind, it's a no-brainer because not only does it, produce an incredible pipeline of Proteas, and we know that 75% of just the women's Proteas started off in this program, so it cultivates a love for the game. But we also know that in communities, it actually plays a far bigger role than just getting kids active and getting them to play the game of cricket. So in partnership with Cricket South Africa, it's been a really big honor to be able to go. We've now had more than 2 million kids in the 17 years play this game, but we know through the GIBS study that we launched last year, that kids are able to show up more confidently. We're building more cohesive and inclusive communities, that they get to interact with kids from all walks of life. So this is not actually just producing the Proteas, it's also producing a better South Africa for everybody.
Yeah, so you've already kind of touched on as to who are the beneficiaries, but just ultimately in the bigger, I think, foundation that's called Add Hope of the KFC that you're running. Cricket is a component there, and because beach cricket is something perhaps that anybody can participate in, and you don't have to run. And why was it deliberately chosen? I know it's perhaps before your time, but maybe there's some reference as to why they went for mini cricket.
So, Gerard, here's the beautiful thing about my own personal journeys. At the time that KFC joined the mini cricket family, I was actually working at the Wanderers with the Central Gauteng Lions. So I've had the privilege of seeing this partnership come to life. And then obviously now, being able to work on the program is, an incredible honor and obviously a beautiful full circle moment. Because the reality is that what we need in South Africa is more structured sport programs. And I don't think there's any better program than the mini cricket program that is operated in a way that gives sponsors the ability to, it's predictable, it's well run, it's got a spirit of volunteerism in it, it has proven that it is sustainable. I think the hardest thing for sponsors is coming into a game and there's no structure, there's no predictability in the program or a reliability from a sports union perspective. So the reality is we would really love, I think more companies will get involved if we just make it easier for them. And Mini Cricket is such a proven program that it is, as a sponsor and an outsider, fairly easy to support it because of how well run it is.
Okay, and also, I know this is a very loaded question, but I'm sure you do annual reporting and you do a kind of like say, what is it that in terms of the numbers? I know we don't want to tick off numbers when we're in the sport, it's impact, and I know as a mentor what one little statement or sentence can do to a mentee. And so I don't want numbers, but I perhaps you can share with me just impact, the way you as KFC is looking at it.
We look at it twofold, right? So I think all of us, we wouldn't be doing our due diligence and governance if we weren't measuring the numbers, because it really is around the scale and the number of kids that get access to the program. So we're now at 120,000 kids annually, and obviously kids are graduating into hardball cricket every year. So the reality is that we need to continuously make sure that that pipeline of kids. And what we have said and what we're working very closely on is this bold vision with Cricket South Africa is we want more kids. We want every kid in South Africa to be able to play mini cricket because of the far-reaching social upliftment that the program does. So yes, the numbers are important. And for me, the health of the program is always in the number of volunteer coaches that are for no pay willing to invest into the program and give their own personal time because of the benefit they see in their communities. And the stories are incredible. But on a more tangible and a soft skills level, for me, it's very much around the ethos of the program and whether that is still alive. Is it still a program that at its core has a community around it, gets parents involved in their kids' program? As a brand, we're all about feeding people's potential. So as long as Mini Cricket continues to do that and continues to get kids to believe that they can achieve more than what their circumstances are, what they were born into, I think that's when we will continue supporting this program. And we have done so for the past 17 years.
Yeah, great. Andra, you've mentioned volunteers, and I'm a big proponent of volunteerism in the sense of the soft skills that volunteers picks up. As for example, when I talk to a youngster and I say, I see there's a gap in your CV. The couple of years you worked at Pick n Pay as a cashier. Yeah, but who's going to be interested in that? I'm saying no. Why didn't you sell your public you in the public face of Pick n Pay? You were a client liaison. A cashier doesn't see herself as a client liaison person, and therein needs a skill. And if you can propagate that skill, why not? And so I'm a big proponent of volunteerism. If you look at your interaction with them, what is the growth patterns that you see that one could say to more and more organizations include a bigger volunteerism program?
Well, Gerard, I'm going to just affirm what you're saying, and I'm not going to name the brand for the risk of highlighting a competitor, but I myself started off as a waiter in one of South Africa's most famous family restaurants. So I know that's where I learned a lot of my people skills and the ability to engage with people and deal with difficult customers. So that is incredibly important. And I think volunteerism facilitates a lot of that. But I think what it does is it really, and I think we need a bigger spirit of volunteerism in South Africa, to be fair. If I compare it to some of the European markets, we're actually tracking behind quite a bit. And I think it's because of the socio-economic reality of our country is volunteerism gives people the opportunity to realize, and really, it really brings the spirit of Ubuntu to life, because it's not just about me. I'm giving back because of what it'll do for future generations, etc. Now, we need more of that in the workforce. So it starts off with doing something for others without necessarily getting something directly in return today for myself. It's the first thing. And then I think, secondly, by nature, if you're involved in a program like mini cricket as a volunteer, there are some skills and training that you get access to that you wouldn't otherwise. And I think that is true for a lot of volunteer programs, that there's some level of training, etc., that then gives you access to free upskilling and training. And I would really encourage more young people to get involved, because those are all the things that, and I sit in interviews and look at CVs daily. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for, oh my gosh, I'll give you an example. I was a dance teacher when I was at school, right? So it might seem insignificant in my current corporate environment, but the reality is that by teaching little kids, people see that firstly, you've got an entrepreneurial mindset from a very young age. You got involved in things that give back to communities. You wanted to create your own reality. You're providing for yourself. So there's a lot of things that by including that kind of stuff on your resume actually works in your favor, and it says a lot more than you might think.
I think we should do a masterclass on this with the young people that's involved in all the different programs across the country. And so I'm going to put you on the spot now, Andra. So one of the first points that I've raised in my introduction was to go local, hyper local. I'm at that stage in my life where I also start out big thinking, but I'm saying to myself, first look at your resources, what's around you, and then you adapt your thinking around that. So go local. In terms of impact, what would your view be on that statement?
So it's actually what we are focusing on for mini cricket going forward. You might know that we are a franchise system, so we've got franchise partners across the country. And one of the biggest things that we know is that there's a big opportunity to engage with consumers at a hyper-local level. Because, yes, there can be big national campaigns that are on TV, but the reality is people feel what's alive in their community. So an extension to the mini cricket program, and to support it even further, is really getting involved with local schools again, like, making sure that you support mini cricket in the schools around the stores. So there's a big case to be had for hyperlocal. And I think actually what you'll start seeing is that a lot of brands are going to that level again, because yes, the awareness job is done at a national level, but the engagement and the relationship and the connection happens at a hyperlocal level. So it absolutely has to be a focus going forward.
Okay, thanks. Great stuff. And thanks for coming along, Andra. I think that's where we would leave it for now until next time, when we perhaps allocate more time to talk about some specific impacts of the KFC mini program that sits within the bigger KFC Foundation. Thank you very much for coming along. You can either continue staying in the studio, or you can watch it on one of the further on the live links. I hope the links are working. Rene, I see you on. Maybe you could just advise us if all our links are working. Thanks, Andra. We'll chat later again.
Thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you very much. And let's go see Mark Williams. I see you are there. And let's bring back, there's somebody in the chat that making reference to you, OG? Where is it now? I'm looking for the, it says, yeah, there has to be the face of golf. Hey, OG, are you there? OG, your mic is not muted. Can you hear us, OG? I think it's, it's a pic has given you a comment, or a compliment rather. OG?
Yes, hi Gerard, thank you once again. Apologies for earlier. Like I said, I'm literally in the middle of covering a golf tournament that's happening right now on the Betway Big Easy Tour, which is a development tour in itself. And maybe also one of like the inspirations of how we actually formed and came about. Is the fact that golf is one of those sports that's, I don't want to say marginalized, but the barrier to entry into professional golf, especially for people in communities that are previously disadvantaged, is really, really hard. And that's essentially the reason why back in 2018, to sort of lean on maybe to what you were saying earlier on, just realizing almost the connections I had within the golf space, and how I could use those connections to sort of help kids that are either starting to play golf, want to get into golf, those that are already playing golf but do not have the financial resources to be able to travel to tournaments, get proper equipment, proper coaching, nutrition, mental coaches. Because right now, to be honest, to become a professional golfer, there's all those things and facets that have to be in place for any golfer to be successful. And unfortunately, for kids that are coming from struggling pasts, it's hard for them to be able to raise enough money to be able to compete at a level where we can say we've really got a great champion coming from previously disadvantaged communities.
And so, as the founder of this foundation, OG, for me, it's always the question: why was it started? Other than the obvious answer, a lot of things that we do when we give back, it is because of our own lived experiences. When we were perhaps much younger, something was said and that stuck with you, or you were exposed to something at a very young age and you say to yourself, this is what I'm going to facilitate when I have made it one day in life. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was fortunate in that I was introduced to golf at a very young age. I was 12 years old when I started to play golf, and that's because my uncle played golf. He had been a caddy at Krugersdorp Golf Club, taught himself how to play the game, and then introduced it to myself and my cousins. So I grew up playing the sport, and therefore my entry was a lot easier maybe to compare to other people. So I was able to get a membership at Krugersdorp Golf Club. I was able to play, but I was never really at a point where I saw it as a career path in a way. Unfortunately, as the years gone by, I then became a sports journalist. So I covered a lot of major golf tournaments. And in doing so, I saw a lot of kids who were almost just being given clinics, like a one-day clinic where the pros go and try and teach them. But that's not really development of the game, and that's not sustainable either. And as a journalist, then my questions are always geared towards the tours, the people responsible for the game, the politicians, sports ministers. And in my time over the past 22 years, I think I've been through like 5 or 6 sports ministers, and I'd always give the same questions, especially when it came to golf. Then, what are you guys doing to actually amplify and really do proper development of the sport? And I always got the same wishy-washy answers. But then one day I had to look at myself and say, I've kind of put myself in a situation where I work within the sport, but what am I doing to sort of help instead of just always questioning what the next person is doing? And that's essentially how I started the foundation, to say, with a little bit of connections that I have to people with the resources, people with the equipment, people with the golf clubs that can help us play, how can I use that power and influence that I have to then try and help that generation, which I think is not really being developed properly.
Yeah, thanks for that, OG. And also, like I always say, it comes from our own experience at a very early age in life. And I think sometimes I want to be a philosopher, but I always say that when we grew up, the mentality was always make sure that there's enough for everybody, right? It was never a case of make sure there's an abundance of opportunity or an abundance of educational interventions and things like that. And so I'm saying that because, and I don't want you to be specific in the answer, is the OG Bulevo Foundation interacts with corporates, interacts with media, and surely there's outreach to say, come and support us. And I don't want you to say that the response has been 70% or 30%. It could be better. It could be better. I want you to share with our viewers to say, you know what? I think this is what we need to do better when we reach out.
Yeah, and that's actually really good. Like, because I also sometimes just people think because we have the foundation that it works and it's easy, but as you said, without the resources, we can't do the work. And I was on now. I'm a product of mini cricket when it was still sponsored by Bakers when I was young, before KFC came in. And those programs used to come to the townships. How I started playing sports, tennis and cricket, was that Bakers used to come and literally get coaches to come and teach us how to play the sport. Otherwise, I would have never, bumped into cricket until maybe I got to high school if I was fortunate. But when I was in primary school in Kagiso, no one played cricket until Bakers came in to actually help us and get us to the level that, we were able to get kids that came from my hood that went on to play professionally and provincially as well. And therefore, we need those corporates who are going to put their boots on and really put their money where their mouth is to say, listen, this is what we're going to do. And it's not just in golf, it's across all development sport, I feel. It's difficult because I mean, I'll make an example. Like we had a fundraising event in Cape Town last week, and in the last 3.5 weeks before the event, we lost 4 big sponsors who literally carry us to be able to do that event and then also be able to help the kids that we support, right? But those are the difficulties we're facing. It's the difficulties that corporates in South Africa are facing. We found marketing budgets have diminished drastically post-COVID and slowly coming back. But we need to look at how companies are using their CSI budgets now for us to be able to try and tap into those. So it's easy. As I said, the reason I started is because I had relationships, and I found that, to be honest, the corporates that do come on board and support us in the work we do are also based off of those relationships. So if I know Gerard who works at company X, and I'm be like, Gerard, can you put me in touch with your CSI manager or your marketing manager? And that's how we then make those connections. I mean, to make it just a blunt example, for the Cape Town event we had last week, I think I wrote 42 proposals in January, and only 5 came back positive. But because it's been the case for the 8 years we've in existence, I've just developed that, never give up sort of philosophy that either way, if 42 don't come back, somebody's going to come back, because I believe in the work that we're doing and someone else is going to see that as well. So it is tough in the resource business to try and get that, and especially in a sport like golf. Like I always say, like football, you might need just a football kit and a pair of boots, but a set of golf clubs, a set of decent golf clubs is going to set you back easily 40 to 50,000 rand. And having started small, we got to a point where people used to donate old clubs, old equipment to us. But I always say to someone, if you've got a set of golf clubs that's been in your garage for 10 years and you're not using it, you cannot think that it's good enough for a young child who is hoping and has got aspirations of making it golf, for them to be able to use that. Rather, give us some money for us to be able to go get them the new equipment, get them fitted into the right equipment. So when they do compete and go and compete against their peers, they don't feel undermined or feel like they have less than. So give them that confidence to know that they've got the ability, they've got the right equipment and everything that they need and have been equipped with to be able to go and play. So we understand that the economy is not at the greatest it's ever been, but I believe that, there's definitely corporates out there who can help across the board, and we'll continue to knock on those doors, because what we found, even for kids who had never touched a golf club, I think these kids we started with in 2018, we have now gone down to like a 4 handicap. Like the talent is there, it just needs to be nurtured. You just need to put golf clubs in the hands of kids that have never had them before.
Yeah, and thanks for that, OG. We talked earlier on about mini cricket, and what happened to mini golf as an introductory process?
So that's a project we're currently working on. Just last week we were supposed to make a major announcement. I can't break it here, unfortunately, because we're waiting for the partners. You did mention, go local, but international sometimes is where you need to go knock on the door. So because of time differences, our agreements are still in the process of being completed. But we will definitely be going into schools. We've got a school, Clermont Lab School, that we've spoken to. We'll be starting a golf program there in the next month. And there's 4 other schools just around there, just to be able to get the kids in primary school to be able to start playing the game. And then from there, they can then graduate into the other parts of the OG Molife Foundation. We will help them if they do want to become professionals or anything else within the game of sports. I always say to kids, like, you'll find a greenkeeper that earns 2 million rand a year. But when I was growing up, no one ever told me a greenkeeper can make a decent living in South Africa. So there's so much that you can do within the sport of golf itself and not just play it. And therefore, we want to just create and open those opportunities to our kids.
And earlier on, we talked about partnership, and I'm also a big proponent of collaboration. But stakeholders sometimes do not understand the notion or the concept of collaboration. They confuse that with partnership. Partnership is something different. What's your experience like, and where would you like to see more collaboration going among stakeholders in this ecosystem?
I think we all have different experiences, and if we can then, I mean, it's difficult. Like you mentioned, foot golf earlier on, and I've had people that come to us to say, "Come and help us with foot golf," but the collaboration would be amazing, but it's also difficult because while we're fighting the struggle of just golf itself, and maybe like as you say, mini golf, to then take on the challenge of then trying to promote foot golf is us almost taking the eyeball off what we're trying to do in this sport. So that might be a way to introduce kids to the game of golf overall, but it's a completely different discipline if you think about it. But there's definitely no stopping us being able to collaborate with another organization that's within the development space but doing something. Because what we also then find, and this is where I then help a lot of organizations that come to me personally, is that they always figure that a golf day is an easy way to raise funds. Now, I've got the experience and the know-how of how to put one together and what it takes. And I even though I might not collaborate, I help certain entities to be able to put theirs together so that they can somehow be able to make money out of the golf days. And because I've done it for so long, I know the do's and the don'ts. And I think when we all come together, like the stuff that you shared that I'll be hitting you up on earlier, that's stuff that we haven't considered. And I think in the reporting of everything we've done and the impact you've made, there's points that you across here on that I to tap into you about, and that's where the collaboration then comes aboard. So it might not be necessarily that we're going to do an event together or we're going to do a golf program together, but if you're saying, and this is where the power of collaboration has come to the fore for us with this project that's coming up, is that the Humanitarian Fund have already started a program in Claremont Primary School. Therefore, the agreements are already there. So the conversation with the principal was easy because we're partnering with them in this project.
Yeah.
And therefore, that makes them already running a rugby program. They've already established the steps to be able to do this. Therefore, we're just coming in to plug in a golf program onto what they've done with rugby, with helping kids with computer skills and all that. So those collaborations are really important. You need to find the synergies that work for them to actually be successful.
Thanks, Oji. And perhaps in conclusion, if we were to collaborate, because for me that's also a form of giving back, sharing my learned experience with somebody starting out a project. So if there were to be potential partners in the room, what are the specific things that you could say to them? This is what we are lacking in terms of resources. How can you support that specific area where we're lacking perhaps know-how? Would you be able to do that, OG?
Yeah, I mean, look, what we ultimately want to do is just build a complete child at the end of the day. So if there's someone that knows something about whatever subject that it is, that if we're saying we've got kids that we're going to be coaching on a Tuesday between 2 and 4 p.m., and you're saying to us, we can come and talk to them about financial literacy. We can come talk to them about hygiene. We can come talk to them about golf. For us is a way to be able to get them there, right? So whatever it is that you say and are able to impart that knowledge. We'd be gladly happy to have you there with us. For instance, we're busy now with a major bank where we're going to actually get a couple of, especially the older kids, just teach them a bit about the financial literacy, because what we've also then found is that the guys who do become professionals don't know how to budget their money. It is a tough sport to actually be able to be successful in. I'll give you just a rough estimate and example that on the Sunshine Tour, a professional is going to need close to plus minus 300,000 Rand just to almost get by in a season, right? And if they're fortunate enough to find the sponsors and the backers that will give them that money, sometimes they get it and don't even know how to spend it. They might spend all of it on the first tournament, which is not as important as another tournament that has more points to gain. So we're bringing this bank to be able to say to the guys, listen, this is how you firstly go about acquiring your money. And when you do, this is how you must spend it. And think about all these other things, because a golfer, once they have the money as a pro, they need to think about eating, traveling, paying a caddy, they're going to be staying, paying a coach, paying a mental coach maybe, sometimes having to pay for practice facilities if they need to do that. So there's so much that they need to think about that finances might not be something they think about. So if we can get the kids, even before they turn pro, to start thinking like a professional and bringing those partners on board, we can definitely do that. But from any spectrum, I mean, if it's somebody that does mental coaching, it's someone that does social or mental work, with like whatever it is that you feel would be beneficial to any sports person. We're always open to chat to anyone.
Thank you very much, OG, and to the viewers there, it's an open invitation to reach out and start to initiate the conversation around collaboration. That's where we would leave it for now. Thank you, OG. You can now go back to the golf tournament and dedicate your attention to that. And we'll chat next time, but also very much appreciate your insightful contribution towards this discussion around why we need to give back. Thank you very much. Until next time. Okay, I see that we've got Michael here. Good morning, Michael. All set to go. Your mic is on mute. We all give
Hey,
that. Morning, Michael. No, we're managing. I'm running solo here, you know, with on the desk, as they say. No, but great stuff. Thanks for coming along. So Michael is, I think he wears a couple of hats. He's the chairman and the MD of Boulderstone Sports Institute. You'll tell us more about that. But within the institute, there's also a foundation and many other affiliates. So welcome, Michael, to SportX Forum. And so essentially, just a short introduction on yourself. I know the website is very extensive with regards to the profile of the family and where it all started. But I'm not so sure if you were at which already when the program was started way back. But could you just share to us as to why the Boulderstone Sport Institute and the foundation was started, with what aim and objective in mind?
Sure. Yeah, so thanks for having me on board. Great initiative. So the Boulderstone Sports Institute, we've been going since 2004. We started as a golf academy. That's my background. I'm a PGA professional. So golfer turned coach, and then set up a golf academy, of which we've then evolved into a multi-sport academy, which combines sports training, so high performance youth development sports training with education at schooling level and at college level. So that's essentially what we do. So we've been going for 22 years. We have 6 sports that we cover. We cover golf, football, tennis, basketball, rugby, and athletics. The 6 that we cover at the moment. And like I said, we have a high school that we operate. So it's full-time programs that we do, and then for after school, post-matric level, we've got 5 different college programs that we offer, offering sports education for youth athletes. So within that, we set up from year 2, we set up a bursary program, of which we have then formalized into a foundation called the Boulderstone Foundation. So we've essentially funded our bursaries for many years, with the occasional help from individuals or corporates, and sometimes collaborating with different institutions. We've collaborated with OG quite a number of times, and OG Wala, we work closely together. So we've done quite a few things with OG Foundation, where we've raised money for OG, and then we've collaborated on some players with his foundation as well, and are currently collaborating with one player. So we formalized that now into a foundation, of which we can hopefully raise more and more money to be able to offer bursaries for those that. So our institution is privately funded, so the parents fund, but obviously a part of what we do is wanting to give back and to nurture the talent in South Africa that can't afford private fees. So from very early on, we've offered bursaries to those that we've identified have talent and work ethic and all the right attributes, and do not have the means, and been able to offer them bursaries, and to offer the programs that we do.
Thank you, Michael. And also, there's no geographical limit in the country as to where people could come from, and also where are your institutions based?
Yeah, so we're based in Johannesburg, in Bedfordview, Johannesburg, but we have students coming from all over the world. So around about 50% of our students will be Johannesburg based, 25% will be the rest of the country, and then 25% are international students. So we have a boarding house as well, and yeah, we take from all over. We do have a franchise golf academy in Cape Town as well, called TGSE Cape Town. TGSE, the Golf School of Excellence, was our original name, and they've kept our original name, and they operate similar to what we do on the golf side down in Cape Town.
Thank you, Michael. And also, how does the mix of education and intensive sports development, how does the two complement each other in terms of that personal development that you see within the individual?
Yeah, so it's all about whole person development. So very early on, so we started as a golf academy only offering the golf training. We were the first high performance holistic golf academy in the country, but we didn't have education at that starting point, and we had some really good early success. One example is Toto Timber, who was our first bursary recipient. In our second year, we identified that he was one of the top players of color in the country, but at that point he was 121st in the national rankings. So we put him on board for a full bursary within our golf academy. Within a year, he'd got down to top 10 in the country. He'd got his national colors, and he'd earned his playing privileges on the Sunshine Tour, of which he took another 6 months later. He took those privileges up, and he's been on the Sunshine Tour ever since. And he's 20 years on the Sunshine Tour now, and he's a Sunshine Tour winner. Played in Asia as well, multiple tournament winner. So that was early success we had with our program and our bursary program, which we're very proud of. But after the 2 or 3 years, we'd had some success, but the majority of the players weren't going to be successful. And we know within high performance environments, no matter where it is, no matter how much with the talent that you get, only a very small portion are going to make it to be playing professionals in whatever sport. So we wanted to offer more than just a pathway to play in as a professional. So then we included education first off at a college level. So we started offering what we call our PGA diploma, where we're training players to become coaches, to run golf clubs, run golf operations, golf shops, golf events, everything within the golf industry. OG mentioned greenkeeping. So one of our students through that program, and then went into a greenkeeping program that we offer as well, is now the head greenkeeper at Stain City, who just did the Live Golf event. So he's a major contributing factor to that tournament, and the success that was, and the conditioning of the golf course was one of our graduates who came through our programs. So it's about we've got kind of 3 pillars. The sports performance is top of the, if you call it a pyramid, it's top of the pyramid. First off is character development. Next is academics, and then if we've got a foundation of that, then it's the golf performance is kind of the cherry on the top for us. If a small portion of our players make it as playing professionals, that's wonderful. But we want to develop positive contributors to society, who are going to come through our institution and be of use to society, and be of use in whatever industry they want to go in, whether it's sport or something else. We educate them so that they have multiple pathways in their career, whether that's in South Africa or worldwide. We've got guys in over 25 countries around the world from our graduation group. And then, like I said, the cherry on top is the handful that are going to make it as playing professionals might make the headlines, but really the major thing is developing people through education and sport that are going to contribute to society.
So, the potential is so amazing. Mark Williams is going to come on later on to talk about his foundation and the stuff that he is leading, similar to what OG is doing. But recently, I was with Mark and we met a gentleman and we talked about a golfer who's won a tournament in South Africa. And when it comes to the money side of things, financial management, there's something lacking. As OG mentioned it earlier on, that 300,000 must be stretched. And so a lot of times, where I come from, I've mentioned this thing about just enough and not abundance. So I still sit with that just enough and not abundance. Are you with me in my DNA? Yep. And what would your outlook be towards a statement like that, where we say we need more financial management training of our sports people?
Yeah, it starts with education. So the more we're educating for those that are going to make it, as so many examples of sportsmen and women that have earned a lot of money in their career and then finished their career and they've got nothing left. So part of our programs, we offer a sports management program, which is very much related to the business of sports. And part of that is personal finance. And in our golf specific program, our PGA diploma program, there's a 3-year program that there's a major business module across all 3 years that again not only trains them to run a sports operation or a golf operation, but also to manage your own finances. So we have to educate. It's unfortunately there's been way too many talented athletes that have come through the youth development systems or no systems at all, no structures at all, and have because they're so talented in their sport, they don't even complete their schooling, and then they're open to all sorts of people that might pretend that they've got their best interests at heart, but again, so many examples of people that have been advised, financial advisors, managers that end up making far more money and end up with the athletes' money in their own bank account, or they've just mismanaged it because they're, it might be a parent or it might be a friend that's managing their finances and managing their career, and they're not educated and qualified to do those kind of things, and so the money's either stolen or it's lost in bad investments. So just being a good athlete is not enough. You have to then know how to manage your career. Part of that is for it to be sustainable beyond. We all know that most athletic careers end at some point, and so it needs to be sustainable from there.
No, great stuff. I remember maybe a decade or so ago, the NBA made it compulsory for all rookies to go through a program like that. That would even include how not to borrow money to your family. Otherwise, you'll be bankrupt in next to no time. So, Michael,
So carry on. No, carry on. It is a major problem in South Africa, that kind of thing. So we need to keep educating, and people can't rely on just their talent and assuming that everybody is going to have their best interest at heart, because unfortunately, there's been way too many examples where we've seen that it doesn't happen that way.
No, great stuff. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for coming along. Insightful background kind of presentation as to what the Balderstone Sports Institute and the foundation is doing within the community. Let's make another appointment for the future. In fact, I'm in Bedford View, and I was quite surprised that we're neighbors, So maybe I come and have a cup of coffee at your 100%. Office, and we can, and we can chat how we can facilitate collaboration between stakeholders. That is my mission at my young age now, is to facilitate collaboration. No, great stuff. Thanks for coming along, and we'll chat next time.
Okay, thank you.
Great stuff. Go well. Thank you, everybody. I think I saw our next guest, Shafika. Mark is waving. He's there in the studio, but I think Shafika is next. But if Shafika has disappeared, and I'm taking liberty here, Shafika is traveling outside of the country, and if she's having a bit of a problem to come back there, then I would switch over to Mark. But Mark, let's just give Shafika a minute or so. I see there's some a great interaction going on in the chat. People are mainly watching on LinkedIn. I can see. I'm not so sure where's the Facebook crowd and where's the YouTube crowd. So yeah, look, the thing is this. I'm surprised that you guys are active on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is normally the problematic platform with live streaming. You can do a test the day before and then the next day it doesn't work. There is our colleague Shafika, and I'm going to add it to the stream. Morning, Shafika. Your mic is on. You're an expert on this.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You
Hi,
don't
Uncle
arrive.
Philip. How are you?
He calls me a LinkedIn uncle. Okay. No,
I am in another country, but I hope that you can hear me, can see me clearly.
Yeah, that's not too bad. The sound or the audio is not too bad for that matter.
Okay,
So yeah, I am, whilst I'm talking to you, okay, I'm looking for a folder with the ticker tape for Shafika Isaacs, but I created it as the F-bomb. Okay, so there's a bit of going on, yeah, because I'm multitasking. Yeah, I see OG has also come back. Mark is waiting patiently. Okay, Shafika Isaacs is the founder and commercial or chief strategy officer at the F-bomb. Okay, so now for those who are not familiar with the organization itself and what is this thing called, why it was started, Shafika, welcome, is best to explain that to us. Thank you.
awesome. So essentially, it is what I'm hoping to be a Pan-African movement. It's currently largely South Africa-based for obvious reasons. And the idea is that we use sport for the advancement of women and girls. And this is not just related to the actual athletes themselves, but the women working behind the scenes, women who have been working behind the scenes for decades and have been told the same story about, your work needs to speak for itself. And we know whether you are male or female in this industry, it often doesn't. So essentially, there are two tracks here. The one is around the women in sports. So whether you're an athlete or whether you are an administrator, a marketer, a graphic designer, a journalist, whoever it is that's working in sport, we get together, we do online and face-to-face networking. We share our skills, we share our ideas with each other, particularly around things like brand building, around things like public speaking. And I'm a big person in terms of like challenging people to get out of their comfort zone. I do it regularly, as many of you know. I think it's absolutely important. And so it's really about taking visibility, which I think there are loads of amazing initiatives around visibility for women in the space. But we want to make sure that that is also aligned with commercial objectives. So that means that you have growth in your career, that you start businesses and all of those things. And so to do that, we've also got a commercial advisory aspect, which I'm calling the F-bomb works for now. And this is really where we're able to advise brands, federations, teams, clubs, and individual athletes, as well as these women, just to create an actual commercial strategy around it, so that women's sport doesn't become about charity and goodwill and gender equity and all of those things, that it actually is seen for what it is, which is a commercial opportunity, and a massive one at that.
No, great stuff. Shafika, I was there when you started the journey. and you mentioned the word that it should also become a self-sustainable approach and an effort on the part of the members within the ecosystem of FBOM. And so, are there any particular pathways other than just creating visibility and opportunity that you have prioritized for the next year?
So I mean, as it's also quite new, and it's been a bit of a struggle trying to grow both at the same time, even though they link and tie in so beautifully together. But I think right now my major focus is on the recruitment drive, is to try and get those numbers up. And again, like not only in South Africa. One of the reasons I'm in Ghana right now, for example, and I was in Kenya late last year, is to actually spread the word about what we do. And again, we aren't in competition with any other organizations working with women in sport. Our model is very different. And so what I see us doing in the future is having this amazing database, having our own events. We've already been very fortunate. We've done 2 so far, and both of those had brands coming to us saying, how can we get involved? Can we donate prizes and so on? I do see us having a lot more training going forward. We've got incredibly capable, talented women in this community who are very well off in their careers. They've gone really far. And for them, this is an opportunity for them to give back as well and potentially make some money while they do it. So education and training is a big component of it. And then my vision, because I'm always trying to combine my passions, is I'd love for the next time I go to a Ghana or a Tanzania or Egypt or wherever it is I go next, is to actually take a group of women with me, and have us start connecting in a very real way on the ground with each other. There's so much to learn. I think we as South Africans often think that we know everything there is to know about sport. But there are quite a few things that the rest of Africa can teach us as well.
Okay, talking about Africa, the challenges that a typical FBOM profile member experiences in Africa, how does that relate to the one in Kenya you were last year and the one in Ghana where you are now?
Yeah, look, I think we are all sitting in the same position as women in the sport. And please understand, when I say that we focused on women, it's not because we don't understand that men have issues as well, that youth have issues, that people of color have issues, people with disability. This is just the frame of reference that I can actually work with. So this is why we've chosen women in sport for now. And I think we all struggle with one thing, which is an industry that wasn't built with us in mind. An industry that for the longest time hasn't taken into account what women have to offer that is unique. And that is holistic thinking. That is the ability to consider patterns, to consider all the different impacts when you make a decision. And we always say, if you want somebody to go from A to B as quickly as possible, you ask a man. But if you want to go from A to B as effectively as possible, you ask a woman. And I think it's so important that both of those voices exist in this space. We have been doing it for the longest time. They are, and I see a few of them. Yeah, I see Renee, for example. These are people who've been running the show, but haven't had the visibility, for example, to be able to shine in the way that they are supposed to be. So across this continent, I've seen it. From the women in sport perspective, you've got women working behind the scenes, not being taken seriously, having to fight for the same seat, because we're told that out of 10 seats, women only get 1. Why? So that's what the FBOM exists to do, is to ask those difficult questions and to say, why not 5 seats? Why not 6 seats? There's so much evidence in this continent where women are involved in parliament, for example. If you look at a place like Rwanda, where majority of the MPs and people doing the work in parliament are actually women, and how successful that has been. So yeah, it's not a feminist organization. It's really about us finding our own power within the space and understanding that we have more to offer. And then on the athlete side, I mean, sometimes I go to these places and I come back and I feel so despondent, because in South Africa, for example, we are having conversations around a professional women's league for football. And you think to yourself, how do you have a professional, how do you introduce money into an area where right now women are still facing sexual harassment? And we're not just talking athletes, we're even talking coaches. There's nothing in place to protect them. There's, we talk about safeguarding, but it doesn't happen on the ground. And now you're introducing money into the situation as well, which means now they have more to lose. So it's really imperative that we actually get all of these things going, because we want to grow, but we can't grow on a base that is wonky. And right now, base is extremely wonky.
Yeah, no, great. Before I ask my next question, I think it's Brett Berry that said they would like to cover more women's sport. I do get the newsletter every week, and always I say I would make contact with Brett and have a conversation on what we're doing. So there's an open invitation from Brett Safika. I know the two of you do engage on LinkedIn as well, if I'm not mistaken. But here is the next question. So when we talk about investment and developing women in sport, automatically our mind goes to the field. And that's not where your F-bomb is necessarily playing. It perhaps sits on the other side of the ecosystem, complementing what's happening on this side of the ecosystem. A bit of elaboration on that, perhaps?
Yeah, I'm not sure I entirely agree with you, because I think, yes, the actual content of the development part of this might be different for an athlete versus a marketer. But at the end of the day, for example, we want to get marketers into positions where they become CMOs, where they become heads of sponsorship. And this is just one aspect of it. We want young lawyers to become like Wafika Beg, for example, who's now the president of the SA Sports Association and is an F-bomber. We want them to get into those positions where they can actually make it influence what happens on the field as well. That we can be in a position where I see Sumaya Khan is here as well. I mean, what an amazing person, and she's a trailblazer for us. And Sumaya's been in positions where she could make a difference, So we essentially want more of her in the world. And so, I think they work together. The women in sport have to support the ones on the field and vice versa. So our responsibility now is to find the right pathways. One of the things that we'll be doing coming up soon is that we'll be working with certain sports lawyers who've adopted teams, women's teams, and they will be working with those teams to make sure that those players know their rights, that they understand what goes into contracting, that they know how to work with agents and scouts and all of these things. And so again, I think it's very difficult for us to separate the two because there's so much that we can do to influence each other.
Yeah, I kind of like that mentioning of attorneys adopting sports teams now. Can you perhaps elaborate on that? That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, so we're still working on it. I'm actually working with the SA Sports Law Association. So we haven't finalized this yet, but we are going to be putting out a call for teams soon to essentially tell us, how many there are, where they're based and so on, and then we'd have to match them to the appropriate sports lawyer. And I also want to say that these sports lawyers are not only going to be female as well, and this is a big part of what we do. We do not want to exclude men from this. They have a massive job to do as well in terms of the advancement of women. And I've been very privileged to be surrounded by people like yourself as well, Uncle Gerrit. I always say my LinkedIn uncle, extremely supportive of me and the work that I do. And this is even before the F-bomb. So we need to do better at harnessing, all those people who are interested in working with us. But just to go back to your question again. So the idea here is for us to actually do this road shows where it's practical. I don't know how long it will take us to cover everyone, but I think, youth themselves have a very good way of kind of relaying information to each other as well. So I always say, if you teach one young person, 10 other young people will benefit from it. And so that's the thing. We have to make the start. We've heard too many horror stories, and women's sport is growing massively, particularly football in this country. The world out there is hungry for our footballers, our women footballers. So if we want to have more Tembi Khatlanas who have their heads screwed on straight, that's on us. That's the job that we have to do.
Great. But also, here's another open invitation. If you want to take the roadshow virtually, we'll make this platform available.
Thank you.
to you and your team, because when you left your previous occupation or job for that matter, and you came up, this was actually a light bulb moment that came after Wafika has, sorry, Safika, as you mentioned Wafika now, after Safika has plotted the course, and then she realized, but I'm going back to where I was now, let me tackle this exciting thing called the F-bomb there. So now great stuff there. And listen, it's 15 minutes is gone. I do 15 minutes interviews because of LinkedIn, because later on we're going to post this on LinkedIn for those who couldn't make it, and LinkedIn restricts us to 15 minutes. Okay, so great stuff, and enjoy Ghana.
Thank you.
We'll talk when you're back at the end of the month.
Perfect.
Be good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, great stuff. That was Safika Isaacs, founder and jack of all trades at the F-bomb, but she primarily wants to be known as the commercial strategy officer. So we next up is Mark Williams. He's been there ever since we started. So Mark, let me bring you to the stage. Can you hear us, Mark? Your mic is on. There should not be a problem.
Yeah, no, can you hear me?
Great stuff. Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
I can hear you. If I can hear you, then the rest can hear you. I can hear you. Can
Great stuff. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for having me on this platform, Mr. G. Yeah.
Okay, great stuff. So Mark, you represent, after your playing days, you started the foundation, and the foundation has got a inclusive outlook towards what the community needs and how you can assist. Just take us back quickly to the time you decided to hang up your boots and then start the foundation, if you would not mind doing that for us.
Thank you. So yeah, my name is Mark Williams, originally from Cape Town, but in 2002, I had a wonderful football career. From a kid that comes from a background where there was drugs, gangsterism, but took the opportunity when it came. It wasn't easy because we talk about in apartheid years, especially in Cape Town, was very difficult. But you must just believe when you have a dream, the vision, don't give up, go out there, work hard. I remember a couple of times I was running in the road and some of my friends were saying, hey, that guy's crazy. Why is he running? When it was raining, I was training and, I'm thinking back, they were laughing. And yeah, a couple of years later, when they saw me playing professional, they were not laughing. And and those are things that I want to share with the youngsters of today. Coming from a place where we were 6 brothers, we lived in a small house. And when I say small house, basically there was a bedroom, a lounge, everything was in there. The only thing that wasn't in there was the toilet. You had to go outside and then find your way. But look, God is good. I'm a great believer. And so, I had opportunity to go and live in Claremont, in Cape Town, which took me out of a little bit out of the gangsterism. But, while I was growing up there, my first language is Afrikaans. And I speak Afrikaans fluently. And then here I had to speak English. But you know what they say, it's not, when you go to places, it's not about the language, it's what you want to achieve. And I remember in the book that I've also come into with a book that I mentioned about this girl that I like, Judy, and Judy was speaking English, and it was quite funny. I wanted to tell Judy how I feel about her at the age of 12 years old, but the English couldn't come out, and I went up to Judy, and all my friends were standing, and like, I wonder what he's going to say, and I went up, I said, Judy, I love you. And they were laughing, and it was so funny, but you know what? They say who loves the first loves the last, and I was one of those guys. I always wanted to try. And unfortunately, I had to move out of Claremont, and sorry for that. And I had to go to Hanover Park, and that is where this whole life of mine changed again. And that is where the gangsterism come in. But I never gave up on my dream. I always believed that there was something I could do. And yes, while I was playing there, through those gang world and things like that, I played for a couple of gang leaders. But the reason why I was playing for them is because I needed to put food on the table for the family. And it was very well. They understood that what it was. And yes, I never gave in. I got the opportunity to start playing for a professional club for Hellenic in Cape Town in 1988. I was playing on the field and somebody said, "Hey, Mark, there is this white gentleman that wanted to see you." The first thing that went to my head, I was like, "Oh my goodness, where? Why? What is this cop wants?" Because if you see a white person in a colored area, it's in those days were very difficult. So yes, I got the opportunity, and he said to me that he wanted me to play professional, and that is where I never looked back. I trained more harder. I got the opportunity to play for Hellenic. I came to Johannesburg, played for Cosmos, played for Sundowns, and my dream was always as a kid. Remember, I said that house that I wanted to buy for where I grew up was to buy my mother a house, and I had the opportunity to buy that house. But look, I had a great journey. After that, I went to Belgium. I played in Belgium. I played in England. I played in Brazil. And where I made my name was 1996 when the final won the AFCON Cup. I came on as a substitute, and Sporting the Two Goals got my name as a nation builder. And now that I'm sitting having all these things, I'm looking back and say, what is it that Mark wants people to remember? How do you want people to remember Mark Williams as a legend? But what is Mark giving back? So I looked and I said, well, the legacy is more important. And that's how I came up with the Mark Williams Foundation. Where I grew up, I want to go back to those areas and tell these kids about the lifestyle I had and share it with them and say, if I can do it, so can you. Because in a lot of colored communities, drugs and gangsterism are a big problem. And also the same thing with women. So inspire women to say that it's not just for women that can play it, for men that can play it, that women can also play the game.
No, great stuff, and thanks for that introduction, Mark. So the foundation is currently, I know that you do a lot of school appearances. You published a book, and you distribute the book at schools, and even have corporate motivational speeches that you do. And how does that all link with the foundation?
So yeah, so the foundation basically, for me, was to reach out there because I always believe that after my playing days, I'm grateful. I mean, I was commentating after my career, 22 years at Super Sport, and just after COVID, I had to make. They told me that look, we're looking for new talent, and I had to make and go out of it. And I said, well, listen here. If I'm going to open this foundation, I've got the book. I need corporals to come. And there are certain places that a lot of people are scared to go. I'm one of those guys. I would go out there because when I go to the school, it is my story that connected with one or two of those kids. Yes, you're talking to 500 kids. There might be 500 that comes out of it. And the same thing that I always say, my coach, there was a coach I had, one of my greatest coaches said, that listening is a skill. So I go to the corporate and say, listen here, use me as the team building I can do. And let me go to these schools to share my book. I don't know if whoever's going to see it. I just want to show that this is the book that I've got here with me. It says From Gangster Soccer Legend. And then I go to the schools where some of the companies come in. I mean, I had a wonderful conversation with some of the people last in Durban, and there was a company HR that got me involved and said, Mark, we would love you to come and talk to the kids at the school. And I went there to Lamontville in Durban, Lamontville High School. I spoke to about 1,300 kids. And, it was a great experience for me to just stand on that platform and sharing my story and say to them that, listen here, whatever you want to achieve, never give up. Nothing is impossible. If you put your head to it and you work hard, and then you can do it. And with some of the companies, I come there. I also talk about finance because remember, at one stage, Mark Williams had millions, and it was nice to have all those millions. And it's nice to give. But now Mark Williams, 40, 45 years. Remember, I had to also live off some of that money. It's not the same anymore. So I talked about how I use my money, how I got some of that money, how I invested in some of properties. And those are things that I've learned. So I can also come to a company, which I did a couple of years with one of the banks, and they wanted me to talk to their clients about financial situations. And unfortunately, I had that gift. But yeah, look, it was a great experience for me to play the game at the highest level and to give back. And that is what the foundation is all about. Going out there, I'm one of the kids that the relationship is more than the money for me at this age. But it's also that how does Mark live is to make sure that if he gives back, that he's also got something to work on. So this is what I'm basically doing.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. So the story in the book to young people is all about the Mark Williams dream can become true. And as it is, you are planning a nationwide tour. It's also coincidentally the 30th anniversary of the Bafana winning the AFCON tournament in 1996, 11th of February. You always say you did not know what time you're going to come on during the game, right? But when it was all over, you knew that you were going to do something special that day. But now, talking about this tour, this Mark Williams Experience tour that you're planning, you kind of like mixing everything into one pot. The celebration of 30 years of that triumph in AFCON, talking to kids at schools about the Mark Williams dream that can come true, as well as talking to corporates and their staff and others to say, this is what I've learned from Financial Management 101. Just explain to us what is the idea behind this tour that you're doing in order to benefit the beneficiaries of the foundation, so to say.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, so this year, you mentioned its 30th anniversary, 1996, when I was part of a wonderful team called Bafana. And, I had to believe that this was my day. I had a great president that believed, my mother flew from England just to come and watch that game. And I came on and I scored the 2 goals. So this year, 30th anniversary, we are celebrating 30 years of Bafana winning the AFCON Cup. So we talk about, so first of all, the 30 years on the end of the 27th of May, which is next month, I'm having a golf day where I'm bringing all my players together at Royal Johannesburg. And Super Sport, they are always so helpful to come on board and to support the initiative and to make sure that they support some of the legends. They are going to be there. And just to make sure that it is a golf day at Royal Johannesburg. And then we talk about, I said, what else is it that I want to do? Now, a lot of people haven't met the 96 people. And I said that what I want to do, I want to go around the provinces. So basically from Joburg, after the golf day, we're going to go to Durban. And then we're going to go to cinemas where we're going to meet. It's called the MW experience, where the legends will sit around the table. We have a cinema, and we will just talk, and talking about what happened in that day or that time when we were in that Bafana team. And we're gonna go from Durban to PE, from PE to Cape Town, to Bloemfontein, and from Bloemfontein back to Joburg. And that is basically the 30th celebration, where I want to make sure I get all my players on board. And a lot of people haven't met some of the 1996 guys. And this is an opportunity, a platform where they can also now talk about what they're doing when we are there seeing these corporal. And we want these people to get involved to say, well, Mark, when you're here, what is it that we're going to do? We're also going to run clinics, because soccer clinics is very important. We can't come to Durban and not go to the Kasi, to the rural areas and bus people in and run the clinics. We're not saying, listen here, The companies can come and say, what is it going to cost us to bring them in? I just want to say the knowledge that we had in that team, and it is the tears ago when we won the AFCON Cup. So Bafana is going to play in the World Cup. It's not AFCON Cup. It's not. People always ask me, what do you think? Are they going to win? They're not going to win the World Cup. We must be realistic, but we must just be behind our teams, Bafana, and wish them everything of the best. But like I said, this whole year till 2026 is finished, we are going to celebrate the 30th of Bafana winning the AFCON Cup.
Thank you very much, Mark. And in my discussions with you, you're going to go to the major cities, possibly during the World Cup or after the World Cup. But you're also looking for partners because there's going to be local golf days as well in the different cities. And one of our next speakers, Ryan Kalk from Bowen Foundation, he's also big into golf and running. He's already saying, Mark, please share the golf details with me. I do have Mark's contact details. If anybody wants to have a chat with Mark, I will facilitate it. But more so, he's looking for partners for the foundation. You can go to the website, the Mark Williams Foundation.co.za, and you can find more information on the website itself. So, Ryan, I see that you are in the room. Would you like to join the studio? Thank you, Mark, for that exciting, interesting, and roller coaster background as to where you come from. I know I get paid to talk, but I know Mark is a true storyteller, and you should probably, Andra's not here of KFC. I'm not sure if she's still watching, but Mark is definitely one that can give lots more inspiration to those kids in the mini cricket program. Okay, so thanks for that, Mark, and we'll chat further, but you're welcome to stay in the room.
Thank you.
No, welcome. So I'm just going to remove Mark there and put my ugly face there. Ryan, we're supposed to take a break now. For what wisdom did we decide we're going to have a 15-minute break? I'm sure people would welcome it, but I think we have, in terms of the lineup, we have. Okay, let me play the video of Emil Smith because the interview I had with him. If you don't mind, let me just stop all the banners that are here. Okay, hide everything. So I'm running solo, people, so you just have to bear with me. Okay, that was a comment of Ryan. Thank you for that. I need just to do a few more things, people here. If you can just bear with me, which saying, actually, I want to take it off. I want to take that off here. There we go. And then give me a second. So let me suggest this. Let's have a 3-minute body break, and then I'll come back and I'll show you the video of Emil Smith, the acting MD of what is this place called? Royal Bafokeng Sports. Okay. So let's just do a 3-minute break there, if you don't mind, and I would load the video. I slipped my mind to do it earlier on. So just a 3-minute break, and then we can continue. Wait for the video to load. Should be quick. Okay. For those who are still here, what will happen is that we will in any case edit this live stream into smaller portions. And I think YouTube will retain this raw recording, but even on our channel over there, Facebook and LinkedIn, we would do snippets of all the recordings that we've done. So let me just add this video to the stage. Next up, we have Emil Smith, who is the acting managing director of Royal Bafokeng Sports. He's here to share more with us about their outlook on why we need to give back, the theme of this forum, and especially to those who need support during the elementary stages of their development, or just those who are looking to participate for pure recreation and with no stress, no competition, and so it's an inclusive environment. Emil, welcome. Could you explain firstly what is it that your I almost don't want to call it a program, but let's call it a program. What does it do, and what are the core outcomes it is designed to achieve at the end of the day, especially having in mind the beneficiary profile? Welcome.
Morning, Gerrit, and thank you, and welcome. Yes, what RBS does. So, Royal Bafokeng Sports is an entity of Royal Bafokeng Nation, which falls under Royal Bafokeng administration. And our core objective is to grow sport within a social dynamic, to increase wellness within the nation for our communities, and thirdly, to create commercial opportunities for all the infrastructure that we've got. So from a social aspect, Royal Bafokeng Sports covers boys and girls sports from the age of 11 all the way up to 21. And we offer 4 sporting codes. It's netball, athletics, football, and basketball. And the reason we focus on those 4 sports is because there's gender parity within most of those sports, and they leverage the infrastructure that's currently available within our 31 primary schools and our 13 high schools. And what we're trying to do is multifaceted within that paradigm. So we try and offer school sports to all of those schools that I've just mentioned. We then try and do talent identification within that continuum to expose those kids that really have a passion and talent for sport. And then we provide a pipeline for them into provincial and national structures where they can compete and become successful. So that is from a social aspect. From our community engagement aspect is we sit with a demographic that is very young and very old. So we need to combine that just for general wellness, just to see what fitness and sport can contribute to the body and the mind of our community and our stakeholders. And then third of all, we've built all this infrastructure. We hosted England during the 2010 World Cup. We've got a 44-seater stadium that was also used for the World Cup and various other sporting events. We've got a new indoor facility that we've about to complete that's going to focus mostly on indoor sports like basketball and netball. And what we're trying to do is not just live in a vacuum, to open that facilities up to the national agenda so we can explore partnerships and obviously access our people from a participation aspect, but also access to our people from a fan engagement aspect and experience perspective.
So it's a whole broad and diverse outlook, but could you explain what Royal Bafokeng Sport aims to achieve as a core outcome, and in terms of that bouquet of services and targets that you have within the community, therefore?
No, 100%. So our key outcome is from a social development aspect. So we understand that in our communities, we are dealing with social decay. We are dealing with kids that don't know what to do currently with their time. And I think too many times people focus on the high performance aspects of sport, where we're saying, what is our impact to the kid on the ground? Every kid should just participate. You know the story about idle hands, Gerrit. Kids can't just be sitting around because we do not have the infrastructure, we do not have the human capacity available to deliver sport within our schools. And that is a strategic outcome for us, is keep these kids busy, show them what else is in life. And if they find a pathway within that from a participation or from a work perspective, I think that's a win for us. Second of all, again, we have got to be a contributor to the national agenda. So in us contributing to the national agenda is forming those partnerships. Do we form those partnerships with corporates? Do we form those partnerships with government? Do we form those partnerships with sports entities, agents out there? So that is a second objective for us. And then the third objective is that Africa cannot wait for someone else to come and save Africa. If we can provide a model for the continent to show that, guys, it's not easy to do it, but it can be done, and we are willing to take hands to create an asset of value on the continent to propel our people, increase our economic status, increase our value on the world stage.
Broadly put, thank you for that, Emil. So also, when the founders of Royal Bafokeng Sport came up with this initiative. What necessitated this thing, the creation of this initiative, and what were the gaps they were aiming to address within the region?
So I think broadly speaking, from a founder's perspective and from the leadership perspective, we obviously within a royal household, we are led by the Khosi. His vision is evident in everything that we do, and he creates those opportunities for us. So a big element that I think drove the creation of RoboFokeng Sports and where it is going now and where it's going in future is the fact that we predominantly focused within the mining sector for gaining economic activity, employment, for social aspects, and a multitude of other things. But the mining sector does come with a finite timeline, because once it becomes too more expensive to extract, obviously, that ore from under the ground, that cannot be the only industry of value within our communities. And I think the leadership then decided, how do we diversify our portfolio? How do we create other avenues for our people outside of the mining belt? And that's where sports and tourism, I think, plays a big role within the Northwest Province, but also within Rustenburg and Phokeng, where we are based.
Yeah. And you mentioned the word partnership, and I'm a big fan of the word collaboration. What would your outlook be in terms of the region and the communities that you work with? If they were to be in a room today, what is the message in terms of collaboration that Emil Smith will give to them as acting MD of Royal Bafokeng Sports?
I think our collaboration will not be based on a single outcome. It's got to be based on mutual benefit. And when we say that, it is not a case of we don't want a handout and we don't expect the people to come to us for a handout. But let's create something of value, something that is sustainable, something that is viable, and something that is multifaceted in its benefit. It's got to benefit our core people, it's got to benefit the sector, and it's got to benefit the national agenda on a whole.
Yeah, you've mentioned the age group in terms of the sports development, but certainly there's soft skills development as well, that within the different programs. And what would those key focus areas be for that matter?
So, Gerard, great question. And I think that is where we are a little bit unique, where our focus, again, is not only on the athlete. Our focus is definitely on those associated and auxiliary services around the athlete. So if you look at sports science, you look at administration, you look at logistics, you look at various other elements, food and beverage around it. We're trying to say is, how do we upskill our people to take full benefit, not only from a daily basis, but also when we get to the big stage in eventing. We've got a 44-seater stadium and we are bound to host big sporting events. Then the economic impact has got to be broad and not just based on it's a night's experience and a third party is going to come in and reap the rewards of the infrastructure and the human capital that exists there. So while we spend a lot of time and effort on enabling opportunities for our youth and our athletes, we spend an equal amount of time on enabling our coaches, on upskilling teachers, on upskilling service providers, and on upskilling logistics and medical services within the region that we do operate. So we as RoboFokeng, and that's why I think the important statement I made that we fall under RoboFokeng administration. RoboFokeng administration has got a department that looks after health services. They've got a department that looks after protective services, which is similar to a SAPS type of body and security within our villages and regions. We have got a hotel school. We've got hospitality sector within our ecosystem. So all those key components that might not, I think at face value, draw a reference to say they are inherent in sport, does eventually benefit sport within our groups of companies.
Yeah, so it's a broader perspective in terms of empowerment than just focusing on sport, because one sees it in sports people who have now retired, that they were very good on the field, but life kind of becomes a big challenge off the field, you know.
Yes.
And so in terms of I'm sure, and it can't be anecdotal because you do have annual reports. In terms of scale, what is the social impact to date since the inception of the RBS?
Gerard, I think the social aspect, and I'm going to be honest, we're going on that journey now. So we are trying to obviously accumulate data. We're trying to analyze that data and find out what's our theory of change and how do we align that theory of change to the work that has been done over the last 15 to 20 years. Because I think the problem in sport and why the theory of change, as well as the analytics when it comes to social impact and return on investment, is becoming so relevant now, is because we always looked at the return on investment either by how many players make it provincially or nationally, or how many of our kids are not currently involved in crime. And we are not, sport isn't the only contributor within that discussion. And I think it was, like you've mentioned anecdotally, it's very easy for me to say that our impact in football has been, let's say, to 25,000 people has been impacted by this. But we can't be that blasé to think that we are the only person that contributed to that impact. The teacher at the school contributed to that impact. The parent at home contributed to that impact. But I think there is value in trying to do the exercise and saying, what is our social impact and return investment from a sports investment perspective? So I don't have the answers right now. I can give you the fact that we've got these 31 primary schools and 13 high schools. I can tell you that roughly 4,000 kids are part of our Metsameko program. 271 teachers are currently part of that Metsameko program. We've sent an athlete to the Olympic Games for the last 4 renditions of the Olympic Games. But those aren't really critical factors when you look at the holistic benefit across our region. We'd rather quantify the holistic benefit and send that messaging out to people to say that this is our impact. We've got so many less teen pregnancies. We've got so many more matriculants that have gone on to university entry. We have got so many entrepreneurs that have come from a sporting background and are now making a living, not only for them, but also their nuclear families. And yes, we're a bit slow, but we will get there.
No, great stuff. And thank for all the good work that you're doing up there, Emil. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of our conversation, and the length of the conversation is primarily driven by LinkedIn, because other than playing this out on the forum on Thursday, we will also post it on LinkedIn, and we limit it by 15 minutes. But thanks for your input and for your thought leadership in terms of what you're doing with Royal Bafokeng Sport, Emil. It is very much appreciated. And until next time, we shall meet again. Thank you.
No, Gerard, thank you very much. And I appreciate the SportXForum, and keep up the good work, and we'll look out for your growth.
Thank you very much. Same to you then. Next time.
Thank you.
So that was Emil Schmidt, who is the acting MD of Royal Bafokeng Sport. And next up, we will have somebody from La Liga, Swazi. I never know if I have to say your full name. Let me just add Swazi before I go into my introduction. There is Swazi. Swazi, your mic is on mute. Your mic. Swazi.
Gerard,
There we go. Good morning.
I think I'm having a challenge with hearing you. I was able to hear your conversation with Emil.
Yeah,
while
no,
I was in the
I think
waiting room.
I think that's normal. I'm not so sure because you're in the waiting room of the studio. Yeah, normally I send the LinkedIn link, the Facebook link, and what's the other thing? YouTube link, so that you can maybe watch it there. But I'm not sure if you can watch it in the studio while you're in the waiting room. Swazi, you still there? You went on mute and your picture disappeared. You're still in the studio, Swazi? Sumaya, if you are listening, I'll send you an email there's a link to the studio. If you would like to join us in the studio, you can just click on that link. Okay, we're waiting to get Swazi back. Maybe I should just remove her from the room, and then when she appears again, to add her. Okay. They just yeah, it's technology plays up, and I understand. So let's add it to the studio again. Swazi, you there? Swazi, we can see you. Can you hear us? Swazi, your mic is on. I'm not so sure why we can hear you can't hear us. Swazi, we can maybe just touch a few buttons there. It's all clear on our side. Our mic is on. We can see you. We need to go for sign language here. Swazi, I'm not so sure what's happening. Ryan, if you're online, you're welcome to enter the studio, as well as the invitation I've extended to Sumaya. Swazi, it seems like you can't hear us. Swazi? We had a conversation earlier on, isn't it? We could hear each other. Not so sure what's happening, people. Swazi? Yeah, I think, let me remove her.
Hi, Gerrit.
There we go.
I still
What
cannot
happened?
hear you at all.
Yeah, we couldn't hear you, or you couldn't hear us for some reason. Swazi? It seems like you can't hear us. Can you hear us, Swazi? This is technology for you, hey? Let's just be patient. We'll in any case edit the video later on. Not to worry. Swazi, can you hear us? Okay. I don't know what to do now. If I remove you and then your audio comes back, and then we could have had a conversation. Swazi? I'm not so sure. Swazi can't hear me. Okay, let me just add Mark to the stage. And Mark, can you hear me? Mark?
Yeah, I can.
You can hear me? Okay. Then it must be an audio problem on Swazi's side there. Mark, I'm going to remove you. Thank you. And Swazi, can you hear us? I'm not even sure if she can see me. Let me remove her again and just add it to the stage. Swazi, can you hear us now? Your mic is also on mute, Swazi. I can't unmute you. You must unmute. Your mic is not on. You're on mute. Swazi, there, your mic is on. Can you hear us? Oh, there she leaves some technical problem there. Sumaya, Ryan, are you in the room? If we can replace one of you in the interim, if we can replace Swazi with one of you in the interim. I know we agreed on the times that you would come on. So we would have had Ryan, is it? No, Ryan is only on at 12:15. Okay, let's not stress too much about what's happening, people. If needs be, what I will do is I would then do the presentation. There's Ryan is back, Swazi is back. Let me just try Swazi. Swazi, can you hear us?
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Finally.
Can you hear us? Ah,
Yes.
what happened? Oh my goodness, yeah. You know, technology. So it's
I,
fun having it while it works, eh?
I just had to be the one that experiences the challenge.
Okay, no, great stuff. Swazi, let's not stress too much about these things. I mean, we don't get paid to stress. Okay, yeah. So as long as you can hear me and you can respond. So essentially, welcome to SportXForum, the partnership edition. It's good to have you, and I'm happy to have included you in the program. So essentially, people know that La Liga South Africa is an entity that exists, but if you could, in your introductory remarks, state as to why La Liga deemed it fit to open up an office in South Africa, having consideration that it has got other offices on the continent as well. Welcome, Swazi.
Thank you, Gerard, for having me. Yes, you're correct. La Liga has been here for 10 years, actually, in Africa since its inception of an office, specifically in South Africa. And now we have delegates across the region, and it was done to be closer to its stakeholders within the ecosystem. So that involves our five main pillars under institutions, obviously audiovisual with our broadcasters, and then you have our fans, then the clubs themselves who have various activities that they do within the region, and then most importantly, grassroots programs.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
and you're correct in most people knowing La Liga for its, elite football entertainment, but in this case and what we're talking about today, through Fundación La Liga and its regional and local partners, we have developed a socio-sports program that uses football to create a safe space and structured program for under 13 and under 16 girls and young women.
yeah. So if I heard correctly, your fourth pillar focuses on grassroots football development. Could you share with us some of the key programs and the highlights that have been initiated, especially over the last year?
Yes, we actually have a program called La Ligue d'Égalité, or the Equality League, which was launched in 2002 with our partner Petrico in Cameroon. And it has since expanded to countries including Kenya and here in South Africa. And that work is reflected in the Mzansi Equality League, which brings together girls' football in a form of a 6-week-long social league and coaching development and community-based impact. So from 2014 in South Africa, we have increased our participation from 100 girls to 300 in last year, impacted by the program. And Cameroon leads in reaching over 600 women and girls.
Okay. And when we come to South Africa, there's primarily people from South Africa on the platform today. Are these programs geographically restricted, or is it countrywide, other than the ones that you do with partners like Royal Bafokeng Sport recently?
No, not at all. The Mzansi Equality League has 2 seasons now to date, and it has been in Cape Town back to back. But we're looking at ways to extend, and obviously it requires partners. But Ghana will be launching its first Equality League on May 5th, and with coaches formation training workshops developed by our foundation with accredited coaches using the Values to Win methodology. And that is approaching sports to promote leadership, teamwork, emotional intelligence, and all these women and children are going to gain insight in the fundamentals of coaching, planning. You're looking at aligning in international standards and offering long-term career benefits and increasing the impact of grassroots programs and at that level specifically.
So we've got quite a number of people that are active in the space of grassroots sports development, community development, for that matter. And how is it that if they look at La Liga in South Africa and say, what would the approach be in order to perhaps see collaboration? I know the process of partnership is very rigid and stringent, but perhaps there's always somebody that can add some value to their program or to what you're doing for that matter. Would there be any approach that one needs to follow?
Yes. So the program itself requires a safe space for these girls to be able to play football, and that requires facilities. You would often now go to a local sports field, and it will be predominantly used by the males. So the girls wouldn't have access to that facility because, unfortunately, in our community and how situations are, the leading participants in sports are currently the male. And with that gap, we require first and foremost to have that safe space for these girls and their female coaches, for them to have this consistently, have this league running consistently. And it also requires things like transport because they're coming from various locations. So we held ours in the five-a-side in Century City, but all the girls are coming from different areas, and that requires, again, like I said, transport services. They need meals while the program is running because they don't really often get to play together, and some would have never even crossed paths if it wasn't for programs like these. So it is not a winner at all cost program. It is a social program that brings them all together. And yes, some thrive and others are actively playing football. But all in all, it needs partners to help us create that environment for them.
Okay, so would it be correct to say that your ears are always open to people approaching you to say we can perhaps seek to collaborate in this area, but we also have a need in another area, and it is not that you're a closed door or a closed shop
No.
for that matter.
Not at all.
Okay,
No.
no, great stuff. Then also, you've recently partnered with the Royal Bafokeng Sport because they're almost like a perfect fit for what La Liga wants to achieve when rolling out these programs. Would you perhaps be in a position to share more as to what that partnership entails?
Yes, our partnership with Royal Bafokeng actually began with an FC Futures program that we have with our sponsor EA Sports. It's called the Next Gen Draft. So last year, February, we took just about almost 300 kids were participating in being scouted. It was a weekend-long program where we had coaches from La Liga that came through from Spain to scout for a group of 4 boys and 4 girls, who then formed part of a tournament that they played in Spain against 3 of our teams. And from that moment, we saw how Royal Bafokeng was able to gather all these local federations to come, because we needed to select, all these children from the Royal Bafokeng region. And it was an amazing success. And now we have an academy with them, the RBS Academy, yes. And it is currently structured to, the intake is mainly focused on the kids that they have in the existing academy that Royal Bafokeng has. And then as it progresses, we are going to expand into also including girls into the league.
Yeah, no, great. Are there any others? I would reckon that's a big project. Would there be any others in the pipeline?
Well, when we talk about the FC Futures program, it is ongoing, and it's not only targeting South Africa. Just in early February, we selected another group of 4 boys and 4 girls from Nigeria that will be traveling to Spain just now, towards the end of May until June, for 10 days. And they're going to meet other kids from Morocco. There is China included. It's really about that. It's creating that space and opportunity where none of these young girls and boys would have been able to meet girls from Dubai, boys from the United States. And when you look back and you see the relationships that they have formed, we actually followed their journey through a docuseries that is currently in the pipeline. And when you look at, yes, you see them on the field, but it's the connections that they were able to make with the other kids. And it's just through the language of football. The Vietnamese didn't speak much English, but on the pitch they were able to communicate. But it's really amazing to see how programs like these are able to give young people a platform that wouldn't really exist if it wasn't through our foundation and local partners like Royal Bafokeng Sports putting it together.
Wonderful. There's no price to the value of that experience that they have. I remember 2007 when SoccerX first came to South Africa. We had a AstroTurf tournament on Nelson Mandela Square, and some of the teams came from Diepsloot, and it's just a mere 5 kilometers away from Sandton City. And the coach said to us, Gerrit, if you did not invite the team to Sandton City, these boys would never come here.
Yes.
5 kilometers apart, and it's a world apart also for that matter. And I think that is the value of almost like the social impact that is brought about through these programs. And so does La Liga have outreach programs to organizations? Meaning to say, yeah,
yes.
Go ahead. Meaning to say, do they deliberately organize events where they share what it is that they do, other than the media?
Yes, we actually have a initiative that we call La Liga Talks and Tapas. It is a commercial event with our commercial director for Africa, where we have an event and we invite various stakeholders from many different sectors, and then we discuss over tapas, Spanish tapas, and talk about what La Liga is doing and how we can partner with these other industries. So we've had two. Our first was in Johannesburg last year in April, and then we also recently had one in Nigeria just before we had the Next Gen Draft competition. So we also do that in tying it together with a program that we are running within that country. So with the Equality League launching in Ghana, ideally it would have been amazing to have a Talks and Tapas in Ghana and invite the industry leaders within Ghana to say this is what's happening. Unfortunately, our commercial director had a bit of an accident and is unable to attend. But we had a Talks and Tapas scheduled for Ghana. So we can create this big ecosystem where if we have a program, we can tie it into what we're doing in Cameroon, and maybe, who knows, maybe our Next Gen Draft could be in Ivory Coast because we have delegates there.
Just as a reminder again, so how many offices are on the continent as we speak?
The main office is here in South Africa, and then we have delegates servicing in Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon, Mauritania, Ivory Coast, yes.
Okay, great stuff. So talking about all these partnerships and programs, would you be in a position to talk about social impact? You mentioned that some lucky few youth will go to Barcelona and play against, not Barcelona, to Spain and play against teams there. What other pertinent impact can you see of people going through these programs?
If I talk about the Mzansi Equality League, the direct beneficiaries are the girls and young women who gain access to an organized football structure that builds their confidence and leadership opportunities. Female coaches also benefit from it in a practical way of being trained by international rated coaches. We are creating development pathways, and the impact goes wider than that. We're talking about families, it's the clubs, it's the communities that benefit from it too. So if you look at the Equality League in itself, Cameroon, over 600 girls. Here in South Africa, 300. And now in Ghana, it's over 1,000 women and children impacted through our programs. And then if I add our fan engagement programs, fan engagement activities, we have events where we do public watch parties, but we also have a concept for fan festivals. So within fan festivals, the main element of it is the fixture of often a derby fixture, if not El Clasico. And then we recently did an event with Shaga Sports. Our Fan Fest had 3 fixtures, which was a knockout stage as a curtain raiser for our watch party. And within organizing that event, we had volunteers from TUT that helped us deliver this amazing event. And it is very important to give young and upcoming people in the industry experience, live and actual experience of being on the field and see what it takes. I'm a product of that. I had many companies, and it's because the institution that I went to actually had partnerships with various organizations to have volunteer programs that enable a person to go find themselves within the industry. I did media work. I realized, nope, I do not want to be a journalist, or I do not want to be a research person. I did facility management with the gym and saw, would I want to be a facility manager for a gym or a stadium? But all in all, I found my space within events and projects. So it is really important to have such programs. And I feel like in our industry, we need to partner more with these institutions and give our upcoming professionals that insight. It's valuable insight and experience for them, because then they know exactly what they're working towards. But yeah, it's quite tough for someone to study sports management and not really know where they can find their space, because we don't have set and structured volunteer programs to give them that experience.
No, great stuff. Swazi, thanks for coming along and giving us a bit of background to the work that La Liga is doing. And I'm going to put you on the spot there. Are there any public events coming up in the near future?
Yes, we do have our El Clasico extravaganza happening on the 10th of May. That is going to be at Fourways Mall. So it is a comeback event that happened 10 years ago at the Nelson Mandela Square, and we're bringing it back to celebrate 10 years of La Liga in Africa. That fixture is going to kick off at 9 p.m. Our activities are going to start from the evening. We're going to have live performances from local artists, and then we have our international ambassadors, Alex Song and Jeremy Njetap, and it's going to be really amazing. So I'm excited about that.
Okay, great stuff. And some of us who are on the platform today can come and seek you out on the 10th of May at, is it Monte Casino?
Fourways Mall.
Fourways Mall. Okay, you changed the venue. Okay.
Yes, it's going to be at Fourways Mall indoors, because we're going to be now into the cold evenings of autumn. So
yes.
In indoor event.
Okay, no, great stuff. And thanks for coming along and sharing a very insightful profile of what La Liga is doing in South Africa and the continent as well. Until next time, we'll chat again. Thank you for coming along. So that was Nomaswazi Tabete. I did not introduce her properly earlier on. She is the commercial and marketing manager for La Liga South Africa. And feel free to reach out to herself or via our office. Next up, we're having Ryan. Ryan is all set and ready. Apologies for being a few minutes late, Ryan. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So that background, are you really there somewhere in Thailand, or where is that background?
That's our development lifestyle center at Taba Eco Village in the south of Joburg.
Okay, no, good. So everybody, Ryan Kalk, some of you might know him from his days running the five-a-side soccer facilities there in Wanderers, and I think he did a few other things in between before he landed up here. as the managing director of the Baldwin Foundation. Now, you would know that Baldwin Properties are a premier residential, I'm not so sure if they do commercial as well, developer, and not at all. And Ryan is sort of leading or steering the ship at the foundation. And the foundation is also involved in a couple of programs, as well as a few marathons around the country. I'm not so sure, Ryan, but the foundation was started just about the time when you arrived there, isn't it?
No, foundation actually started 10 years. 10 years ago. We're celebrating our 10th anniversary this year, and at the same time celebrating Baldwin's 30th anniversary. So started quite a bit after me, or quite a bit before me, should I say. So I've only been involved in the foundation for the last 2 years now, but I've been at Baldwin for nearly 6 years.
Okay, now great stuff. And I'm sure with your involvement with the foundation over this last few years now, you kind of got a bird's eye view as to what was the intention of the founders when they started the foundation, and where are you with that?
Yeah, so I mean, the foundation was actually started by our CEO, Steve Brooks, as his passion project of giving back to the community. He's still the chairman of our foundation and sits as chairman of our board. And the vision was to uplift communities across South Africa, and really with a focus around the communities where we're having a direct impact through the development of our properties. So really focusing now on creating lasting impact and opportunities that are going to empower individuals and inspire positive change.
Yeah, and any particular programs that comes to mind, as you said there, that you are currently involved with? So talk to us about the 3 marathons, I think, that you got involved with, and the Learn to Swim program, and I think there's a cycling program, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, correct. So Baldwin Foundation, we're actually focusing on 3 pillars: education and training, we've got sports development, and charity and outreach. So under the sports development side of things, we're really focusing on 6 sports. We started off focusing specifically on running, on cycling, on swimming, and on soccer. Reason being is those are the kind of facilities that when we develop, like in the background behind me, we build lifestyle centres and we build sports centres and facilities for our residents. We've also changed that model, and Taba in my background is our first external lifestyle centre. So giving the opportunity for the local community and residents as well. It is on a pay-to-play model. Our residents are all members of the facility, but the local community can also utilise it. We then, from the foundation side, we also utilise those facilities for development programs. So around the running, so you mentioned the run. We've got the Baldwin Run series, which is 4 races around the country. 1 race in each region where we are developing, being the Jeppe Marathon in Johannesburg with Jeppe Athletics Club. We've got the Peninsula Marathon with the Celtics Athletics Club. We've also got the Dolphin Coast Marathon with Dolphin Coast Striders in KZN, and in Pretoria with the Fabians Athletics Club. Those are 4 races around the country, and there we give an opportunity for any one of the runners. We don't want to focus on the elite runners. The elite runners have all got sponsorships, and we want to focus on getting people fit and active. And we give all the runners, whether you're running or walking a 5K, 10K, 21 or 42, the opportunity to win an apartment. So it's been running for the last 3 years now. We've given away 2 apartments, and we'll be giving away a 3rd apartment to 1 lucky winner. And we're tying our marketing and the development side of things, I'll come to the development now, back to getting people into our developments to come and have a look and see. A lot of people drive past and say, I've stayed in a Baldwin development, or I've seen Baldwin, and most of the time you've seen a billboard or you've driven past, but not many people have actually been inside. We've developed, we're on our, I think, 103rd development in the last 30 years now. And with those developments, we need people to come in and see what that lifestyle is all about. And everything we build there, including the sports facilities, is built around the development and opportunities for people to have access to facilities. So not all of our residents, we're in that mid-market range, and not all the residents have got an opportunity to participate in clubs and that. So with the soccer, we're looking at, we do some soccer coaching within some of our developments for the kids, free of charge. And then anyone that's obviously got talent, then we'll pass them on to to the relevant academies, etc., for them to get that opportunity. We've got swimming pools and big lagoons in our developments, and we've started a Learn to Swim program a number of years ago, where we've got a lot of our residents actually don't know how to swim. A lot of our staff don't know how to swim, and a lot of the local community as well. So we bring in members from the local community to learn to swim, and the people that are teaching them are actually employees that work at our lagoons. So they are lifeguards at our lagoons, and we've upskilled them to become Learn to Swim instructors accredited by Central Gauteng Aquatics. And we partner with them and we work with them to upskill and give the lifeguards an extra opportunity outside of lifeguarding. These pools are outdoor and you can't swim all year round in South Africa, unless I suppose you're in KZN. But they can now teach other people to swim and get that skill as well. So that's been a very successful project and a very great program that continues to grow, and we're looking to expand that now into KZN and the Western Cape as well. Further on the running side, we involved with some of the clubs as well, where we partner with the clubs in terms of the actual club development as well. So these are clubs that have been selected where they've got development programs, where they're helping development runners get to the likes of Comrades and Two Oceans and Cape Town Marathons and that. These are runners that haven't got the opportunity to buy fancy shoes and get to travel and all that. So these clubs are helping them, and we're supporting those clubs as well. On the cycling side, we work with Cycling South Africa. We've actually got a very big, it's the SA, XCO, XCC, and Enduro taking place at Taba this weekend from the 24th until the 27th. So it's a 3-day event with a practice on the Friday, where they've got 300 to 400 riders that are coming through of different age groups, including South African champions. And this is where they get the opportunity to earn points that they can then go and cycle overseas. One of the things that we are doing at the moment is we're actually changing our name from the Board Foundation also to the Beyond Bricks Foundation. So that's currently in process. So that's something that's happening at the moment. So it happened literally in the last couple of days in terms of the approval processes and that. So it's a little bit, it'll be out in the market towards the end of the year, but right now we're pushing out with starting with our CR and the rollout plan, and we'll be communicating with partners going forward. Other sports that we're working with is the basketball. We're trying to the NBA Africa in terms of expanding, because we do have basketball courts in some of our developments. And then with the lifestyle centres is creating further basketball courts where we can train up the local communities and through the NBA Africa programs at the facilities. And the same with chess as well. We've got chess boards in all our development as a legacy to Steve's late dad, who was a very good chess player in South Africa, and a big passion project for him again. But giving people, we've got the chess boards there, but they're underutilized. So teaching people and teaching the local schools around us how we can educate them on chess as well.
No, great. So just off the top of your head, how many partnerships do you have now in this ecosystem?
Oh, I mean, a number. We're working with a lot of brands, especially on the running series, where we're bringing in the likes of your Asics and Total Sports as apparel and technical partners, and they're adding great value to the runners themselves. And what we're showing also the clubs, it's very a lot of the way things are done is archaic, and everyone thinks about the benefit for the club and how the club makes money out of these races. And at the end of the day, people don't understand how much these races actually cost. And also the benefit to the clubs of running these races. They're not running it for their own personal gain. They're running it so that they can help develop the runners that are there, because unfortunately they're not getting the support from the local associations and national associations. So it's really this public-private partnership that people are coming together to help those in need and bring it through. So these are great partnerships that are adding value to the runners. I mean, the first couple of thousand runners in each of these races are getting branded technical T-shirts, and it's fantastic for obviously for Baldwin to get the brand exposure out there. But it's really a matter of us giving back and working with the communities to, in a mass market sport, anyone can get up and walk. I mean, we're working a lot with ASA South Africa now and disabled runners. Because we're highlighting and we're actually celebrating them and giving them the opportunity to participate in our races and show people that it doesn't matter what your disability is, whether it be physical, mental. Get out there, get active, and even if you're an unhealthy person by size or wherever it may be, this is your opportunity to start. Some people have come and done their first 5K and now progressing into their 10s, 21s, and everyone gets a free training program through the Coach Perry program. And I mean, working with the likes of like Rudy Project and 32GI for nutrition. So everyone's getting that opportunity to try out the products and test the products, and they're adding value to where you can win these prizes as well.
So what the foundation is doing with all these sports partner organizations is you bring a change in the betterment of resources on many fronts. Are there also any soft skill development programs with the people in those partnership organizations? If you could elaborate.
So yeah, look, so not specifically on the sports side. I mean, aside from providing the learn to swim coaching and the coaching at the developments, I mean, one of the things that the foundation does is we've got a artisanal training skills college that we started in Wycliffe in Pretoria. So we've got a training partner with that. So this is really about giving back to the community. So we're training the local community on bricklaying and plastering and plumbing, etc. Carpentry, tiling, all the skills, the necessary skills that are required to actually build our developments, which then translates to employment for the local community, as well as upskilling them, providing them with employment, and then the quality of the product to our client on the board property side actually improves thereafter. So once that's up and running, the plan is to then translate that into the sports side as well. So in the interim, we are supporting the people that are actually doing the providing those development opportunities, as opposed to us going and reinventing the wheel. We're a property company after all, but if we can support the people that are able to do the kind of work and are best at it. I mean, I do come from a sports background and been there for most of my life, but we want to support those programs and really the programs that are actually doing the work. We don't want to get involved in associations that are there for their own personal gain, as opposed to the actual feet on the ground that are actually doing the work.
But there's also a direct correlation for you supporting, for example, the marathons, who in turn would support other charities in their communities. Am I correct?
100%, exactly. I mean, Jeppe, as an example, the 5K, the beneficiary of the 5K race is the George Bezos Foundation. So there are other charities involved, and each of these clubs have got their own charities that they support. Peninsula gives a check, I think, 50,000 rand at the end of the race to one of the local charities that they support as well.
So where you sit now looking forward, I think there's just 1 or 2 races coming up. All of them is done for the year?
No, so we've got the, this weekend, a race that's actually outside of our series is the False Bay 50 and 10K, which is taking place in Cape Town, which I ran for the first time last year. And having run 2 Oceans in this race now, I can tell you about it's a much nicer route than the 2 Oceans route. You're running along the coastline in the likes of Royal Elson, Pringle Bay, Betty's Bay. You run from Claremont to Bordens Bay. It's a beautiful race. I mean, I'm sure when the wind blows, it's probably a tough, challenging route. But again, that race is in support of the Strand Athletic Club, which is another club that we support as well, and we are partners with in the Western Cape. And they support runner development specifically as well. So the gentleman that won the race last year was the first person to break the 3-hour time for that 50-kilometer race, and ended up being an elite at Comrades last year. So it's really great to be able to provide that support, and he went up and he got support because of what the club raised. The club's now doing a 10K because we're actually supporting the local community as well in Gordon's Bay. So there's a 10-kilometer race that will take place. In the series, you've got the Jeppe race on the 20th of September. That's the last one in the series. And then anyone who's participated in the races and visits any one of our developments has got the opportunity to win that apartment, which we're giving away at the end of October.
So yeah, I also know that it's one apartment that you give away for all the races. It's not every race gets its own apartment as a prize. Am I correct?
Not yet. As much as people think we're a massive company, we also have limitations. But yes, it's one apartment across the 4 races. But you can enter from anywhere. If the finalists that are involved, and we announce the finalists with our radio partner 5FM, they come on board and they get very much involved in the helping to promote the races and getting people active and out there. But we announce the top. We take the top 20 that get selected, and then the top 5 get selected in studio live on 5FM. And then those 5, no matter where you are in the country, if you're outside of wherever the apartment is we're giving away, I'm not telling you just yet, but we fly those people up for the night to come and be part of that live giveaway.
Okay, no, great. Just as a concluding remark, Ryan, thanks for coming along. Much appreciated. Any organization or foundation, academy that's listening in today, I know that a foundation or an academy, you zoom in on your focus, right? And that's what you believe you're good at. But I always talk about collaboration in an area where we could do with more support in what we do. Would your door be open to that kind of approaches?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, what we've started doing, especially this year as well, is we've zoomed in on really stuff that's around our development. So the race series is obviously expanding beyond that, but we're getting people from all over around there to participate and get involved. But the clubs we're selecting and the people that we're working with Pedal for Good in Cape Town as an example. They're working with 2 schools that are promoting and teaching kids to cycle and using cycling as an avenue for mental wellness. We do the same in Umhlanga and Bidito on a monthly run for the local communities there around mental wellness. And I mean, the one foundation is they're raising money for Salt 40, and also we work with Choc on Comrade. So we work with a variety of associations and NPOs to try and help and support them. I mean, we look at the opportunity, and if it doesn't fit in with what we're doing in our sports development or our education and training, then we look at it under our charity and outreach pillar, just to try and have that expansion. I mean, just a quick example, we were doing Easter egg collections. Our staff collected nearly 4,000 Easter eggs, and we distributed them to our various charities that we work with. But one of the things we came out of there was one of the kids had just qualified and done his Bachelor of Administration from one of the youth centres in Alexandra. And this kid could not go to graduation because he didn't have shoes, he didn't have clothes. And we went and we said, well, hang on, that fits into what we're doing. And we went and we bought him shoes and clothes. And not only can he use those shoes and clothes for his graduation, but beyond that, he's now got a degree. He's gone and worked through a child-headed household. And he's helping his community, he's helping his family. And he can use those clothes to go for job interviews, his first day of work, till he gets his first paycheck, as an example. And these are the kind of things that we look at as an expansion of that.
Okay, no, great stuff. Much appreciated coming along, Ryan, MD of the formerly known Baldwin Sport Foundation, now Beyond Bricks Foundation. And it's not the BRIC one, it's the one that's the brick. Ryan, it was fun having you along. We'll chat soon. Let's stay in touch. I need to pass something by you, and let's make it sooner rather than later. Thank you for coming.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Go well. Okay, guys, whoever's still left watching us today, I know this was our first one in a long while, and perhaps a bit of overcooking it maybe with the length of time, but yeah, we will learn as we go along. So I'm trying to get what is her name, Sumaya Khan, into the studio. She said she's not seeing the link, but let's just see if she can come along. Okay, so before we get Sundesh Mahes of Bundesliga on the show, that would be around about 12:45. Okay, let me just do a few changes here to the these videos later on. Okay. I see my colleague Mark has also disappeared from the studio. But let's just continue. And by doing the presentation around the aspect of the Sports Impact Fund Alliance. Okay. Able to hear me if I'm removed from the studio. Okay, so essentially, the Sports Impact Fund Alliance is driven by our recent discovery, which is also an obvious fact, but perhaps not that much analyzed by sports bodies. That would include now sports foundations, academies, NGOs and NPOs for that matter, that you're sitting on a gold mine called social media. And perhaps we need to then discover as to how we can extract that gold from the mine that we're sitting on as a sports organization. And having done extensive research on different platforms as to how this could be done, the key is doing it is the easier part. It is monitoring and reporting on it. And that is what's been lacking as an offer to commercial brands, to sponsors, by saying to them, we can give you a full report on the different metrics as to who engaged your post on our social media platform. What was the positive vibes from people on our social media platform towards your brand? Was it perhaps even negative? That kind of metrics are missing. They are available, but they are missing in the proposal to brands. So I know of Facebook pages who only has got 30,000 followers, but they would charge 3,000 Rand a post, right? I'm not so sure if they can deliver a report on the metrics, but in simple, the idea with CIFA is that we are inviting every sports entity, whether it's a federation, a club, an academy, or an NGO, or an agency, to join CIFA and say, I've got 3,000 followers, I've got 4,000, and the next one says, I've got 5,000 followers. Let's put that together. Our target is 1 million followers across all our members. Let's put that together, and then the commercial brands like Baldwin, if we have 500,000 runners or just 1 million people collectively on all our social media combined, then brands would have difficulty to reject an approach from us to say, why don't you advertise and market directly to these people, and these are their profiles for that matter. Okay, as I've mentioned, we're sitting on a gold mine and we're probably not realizing it, but it's always, in my experience, it's got to do with the tools. If we don't have the tools, we would not probably be able to extract value from it. Okay, then, so what we are talking about is to approach a brand after we have signed up many sports bodies to join the alliance. We will then approach a brand and say that let's do a social media sponsorship deal only, or let's do a social media competition only, okay? Or let's just do a generic social media marketing campaign to the different platforms of our members. So that is the approach which will now be made to brands, because you are in a stronger pool. On your own, you're sitting with 30,000 and the brands are saying, but that's not enough for me. I know it's not about numbers anymore. It's about the profile as who you engage with. Even if that's 100 people, but brands don't look at it like that. It is about vanity metrics, and we can provide them with the vanity metrics. So essentially, how it will work is that you as a brand, you will sign up, right, at no cost. And most importantly, you may withdraw at any time. There's going to be no restrictions as to who may, obviously it would have to be clean, in terms of no sin products. I'm saying it has to be clean, not we can advertise alcohol if that's accepted by the members, but you have to be a clean entity for that matter, and we'll do a bit of a due diligence. Okay, I just used clean for the lack of a better word. Okay, so you will join the alliance. Our company's got the tools to manage the entire process. We will go out to the brands that resonate with your profile of your members. We would then publish the campaigns and send you the campaign to post it 3 times or 7 times for that month on your social media platform. We would monitor that. You won't have to send us a report. We would monitor that with our tools that we have, and then we will distribute the funds according to the agreed rates. Now, let's just say we have 1 million followers in a year's time combined, and we say for every 10,000 we pay 100 rand collectively. So if you have 100,000 followers, just as an example, you would then receive 100 rand per 10,000, whatever the case may be. That amount would be agreed upon. We know how many people are following you because it's part of the tool that we are engaging. We know more about your social media account than you yourself would know, unless you also have the same tool that we have. I recently compiled a tool for a professional sports football club in South Africa, and the metrics that we gave them were on 60 different profiles. And that's the kind of extent that we are talking about with this tool. So as mentioned, we will track and engage the metrics, and then we will provide a report to the brand showing how many people saw the campaign on your Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or TikTok, whichever we're going to use. We favor Facebook because it gives us more metrics than any other platform. But we will be able to show the brand as to how many people are following you, how many people engaged, liked, loved, shared, and even had positive or negative comments regarding their campaign. We will give all of that to them. Unfortunately, that will not be made available to you as the account holder because it costs money to do that. Okay? So the key thing that we will be selling to sponsors is first-party data. When your followers signed up to your page, they agreed to receive certain things from Facebook. Not necessarily from you, but from Facebook as an example. Okay? Now we will be able to collect first-party data from those people who are engaging the post of the brand, right? With your help. And then we would share that because there was permission given with the brand, and the brand can do then direct campaigns, marketing campaigns to these followers that were found on your Facebook account. Okay, so the whole idea is, what is the benefit? Essentially, you would be making money, 1,000 rand, 5,000, 10,000 rand, which were not coming your way in any case. By just getting your social media administrator to post the campaign, we will share the campaign with you. For the month, you may be making a couple of thousand, which nobody was planning to give to you in any case. Okay, so that is the value that the sports body will receive. The value that will be received by the brand is actual engagement. It's not about we wonder how many people saw the campaign. We can tell them how many people viewed, how many impressions, how many people engaged. We can actually tell them real stuff, real data. There's no speculation involved when it comes to social media metrics. Look, if you have a Facebook account, it will give you maybe 4 or 5 metrics of the performance of your account over the last month. We have access to 500 metrics across all social media platforms. That just gives you an idea to the extent and how deep we can go with reporting to the brand that has ran a campaign on your social media. Okay, so essentially what we're saying to sports bodies, the brands comes afterwards. If you want to join an alliance like this, There's no cost to it, and you are at liberty to withdraw from it at any time. We'll have a simple one-page agreement that will encapsulate all the rights and obligations, but we will not force people to, to get tied to something which they do not want for that matter. Okay, so now I need to then move on. Unfortunately, there's no two-way communication between ourselves other than this thing about you having the ability to comment. So I can load Sumaya's comment there, and we can have a look at it in terms of what she's saying. Okay, integration. The missing link in grassroots sport. One of our biggest challenges is not the absence of programs, but the lack of integration between them. You can highlight disconnected school, club, and provincial systems. They are fragmented in terms of their funding streams, and duplication, a big sin in some areas, creates the gaps that could have been filled otherwise. Sumaya, I'm not so sure if you received the link. I would love you to come into the studio and say a few words. Sumaya, this is the link, Sumaya, that you should be able to see in your email that I've sent you. See that link there? You should be able to find that it is in your email. Second paragraph. As you can use it maybe just to enter the studio, and you can maybe just join us. So use that to enter the studio, that full link. Okay, are there any other people that are still around that would like to give input? I know you can't, if you want to participate, you can use that link there. Maybe I should put the link in the, that was not clever of me, eh? I should put the link in the comments. I can't call it the chats because it's not the chat. So let's just put the link there and see, Sumaya, if you can catch it. It's coming up. And then just join the studio. I'll see when you are in the studio. Okay. Can you see the link there, Sumaya, and everybody? Okay. I'm sure you can click on the link or copy it. Okay, I'm just also ad-libbing because I'm waiting for our next guest, Sundesh Mahesh, General Manager, Regional Manager of Bundesliga International, Africa region. He said he'll join us. He's busy with another commitment. He said he'll join us, and I think that is him. Welcome, Sundesh, welcome. We've got you there.
Apologies, Gerrit, for being late. I was wrapping up another panel session, but yeah, thank you.
No, great stuff. I was just telling the whoever's watching that you did indicate that you're busy with another engagement. Okay, and let me just get that comment off there. I've got a comment that I'm showing there because I'm trying to get Sumaya Khan also on, and so let me just go to banners again. So welcome, Sundesh. Great to have you along to talk about the good work that Bundesliga International is doing. As I've mentioned in your absence, you are the regional manager Sub-Saharan Africa for Bundesliga International. I don't know if it's a limited company or a PTY Ltd, but I never know what the GmbH stands for.
Yeah, it's basically similar to what PTY Ltd is in South Africa, but yeah, GmbH it is in Germany. But yeah,
Okay.
I am looking after the Bundesliga's interest in Sub-Saharan Africa, and yeah, it's been just over a year and very exciting so far.
Great stuff. So just give us a broad strokes in terms of what is it that Bundesliga International will do or is doing in Africa?
So our core focus obviously is promoting the Bundesliga across the continent. through various platforms, our broadcast partners, our network of influencers, and then also building on events throughout the African continent. So we have various events that we do across South Africa, which is a core market, Kenya, Nigeria, Angola, Ghana. So yeah, various markets across Africa is a massive continent and a crazy football loving continent, and we have quite a few African players that are in the market as well. So our key role is just to promote the game, promote the Bundesliga as a league itself, and yeah, creating some, bringing more hope to Africans, and also having a pathway for development to the Bundesliga. So we have quite a lot of Africans that are shining in the Bundesliga. We have Red Bull Leipzig, which is coming to South Africa soon, and their star player is Diomande, who's from Ivory Coast. And we've also had quite a few Africans or South Africans that have played in the Bundesliga and use the Bundesliga to amplify their career. So if you look at Steven Pienaar, he played for Borussia Dortmund. We had quite a few players playing for Amina Bielefeld in their early age, Delron Buckley, Sibusiso Zuma, Siyabonga Nkosi, Rowan Fernandez. And those are players that have become stars in various other leagues around the world. We have a young guy at Imi Ocon, who's just made it into the Bafana team. Hopefully, he makes the World Cup team, and he's playing at Hannover 96, which is on the verge of getting promoted to the Bundesliga 1.
Weren't they in the Bundesliga a year or two ago itself?
Yeah, but he only joined them last season.
Okay. Not great stuff, but also I know on top of the commercial amplification and strategies of Bundesliga in Africa, you do have grassroots development programs, and I'm sure the Leipzig store would include an element of that as well.
Yeah, so obviously for us as the Bundesliga, we facilitate quite a few grassroots programs across the continent, but we also give the clubs the opportunity, because our job as the Bundesliga is to facilitate what clubs' involvement are on the ground. And around the continent, we have quite a few grassroots programs. So currently happening in Cape Town as we speak, Minds 05 is running a coaching development course for coaches in Cape Town. We also have a player program where we're doing in Joburg with Amina Bielefeld. Amina Bielefeld has signed a contract with the Gauteng government, and that program's running quite well. They're doing quite a few coaching clinics around the province. Delron Buckley, who's the ex-Amina Bielefeld player, often flies into Johannesburg from his hometown in KZN, and he runs quite a few coaching clinics for players as well as coaches development. Then across the continent, we have Bayern Munich, who has a Bayern 7-a-side, a massive tournament in Nigeria every year. I think there's 2,000 players that play, and then from that 2,000 players, 7 get selected to go to Bayern and play in an international tournament. And I think from that tournament, in the past, there's been 2 or 3 players that have been scouted to play in the Bundesliga. In Ghana, Borussia Dortmund has just launched their academy. Just started last month, so in the teething phase. But yeah, grassroots development programs are key for us. We also looking at something for the first time in South Africa. We're looking at something called the Bundesliga Dream, where you take a team or a club of 20 players with their coaching staff, and they spend a week with the Bundesliga team. That hasn't happened before in Africa. It's happened in Asia, and it's very successful. And we're looking at doing the same thing in Africa this year. So keep your eyes posted on the media, because we are launching it soon. I don't want to let too much details out, but yeah, going to be launched soon.
Yeah. So how does partnership takes place? With organizations, we had a number of foundations and academies, even the Boulderstone Sports Institute this morning. How does partnership happen, Sundesh?
Partnerships with us as a Bundesliga. So we have international partnerships team, which is called our Copa team, our commercial and partnerships team based in Germany. But local partnerships we can discuss across various platforms. So we currently, as Bundesliga's Africa team, we have broadcast partnerships with SABC Sport, We also have a direct-to-consumer partnership with Vodacom, where our Bundesliga Pass is sitting, where you as a consumer of Vodacom can watch the Bundesliga live every week. So those are commercial partnerships that we have created on the continent so far. But when it comes to like grassroots level and commercial partnerships, we basically use our club network for those partnerships. So if you look at Leipzig coming to South Africa, they have their own partnership, which is Red Bull. And Red Bull is basically giving all the funding for all their development programs that they will be hosting in South Africa during their tour.
Okay. So that is the process that unfolds around partnership. Okay. Any
Yeah.
exciting development programs, initiatives coming up that we could alert people about?
So I think one of the biggest things is with Leipzig. Obviously, they're going to be a Champions League team. Hopefully, if they get into that top four spot, and they're going to be coming and doing quite a lot of development stuff in South Africa for while they on tour. They're going to be having open coaching clinics. They're going to be having open training session where coaches can learn from their coaches, and yeah,
Ah,
that's just on the top of my head. But yeah, we do have a plan for Africa.
yeah, we've lost.
We're not just here to come and take over for 1 or 2 days, but we're here to leave a legacy. We've
Mm,
partnered in the past with Amandla Safe Hub, which is has
yes.
6 sites across the country, and they do a great program where they teach kids a lot of responsibility in the townships. And we've partnered with them,
Mm,
and we're going to be doing quite a lot of development stuff
mm,
at their facilities. If you know the Amandla Safe Hub program,
yes.
they have
Yes.
I think 6 facilities around the country, but it's
Mm-hmm.
very dynamic where they have artificial turfs. They have
Mm-hmm.
safe spaces for kids to play football, and that's I think important for us, where we can use those platforms to grow the game, grow the brand of the Bundesliga, but most importantly, keep the kids active and in sport.
Mm. No, great. They're doing great work with at the 6 facilities across the country, and I visited a few already. And it is one of those interventions where you can see real impact. You know, they say when they have a tournament over the weekend in the Gugulethu or the Kailicha facility, crime drops by 50% according to the police. So that is major social impact. The kids' marks at school improves tremendously because they have aftercare, and that's the kind of
Yeah.
the mix that we want to throw in the pot when it comes to development. Any concluding? We've lost your picture. You're still there. We know that. Any
Yeah.
concluding remarks in terms of developmental statements that you want to share with us with regards to impact and beneficiary engagement and the like?
Okay, I just want to, yeah, from my side, I want to say also, like the Bundesliga has a great vision and has plans for Africa
Mm,
from giving back, especially on the ground. But me personally, obviously, I
mm,
come from a very diverse background where
mm,
in the Eastern Cape, if it wasn't for sport, I don't think I'd be where I am today. And I want to encourage the kids, coaches, any administrators to keep doing what you do, because your impact is so vital on the future of South African society. And if we have so much talent in South Africa, and if we can keep making sure kids are
mhm,
playing the sport, that we've won one battle already. Like you say, 50% of the crime goes down when there's football in these communities, and sport can change the world. Or Nelson Mandela did say it, and
mhm.
we need to use it. Yeah, so sport has changed my life, and I
Yeah.
hope that we can continue as administrators and coaches to keep encouraging the kids to
Mm,
play sport, because we don't know what is happening in their homes, and
mhm.
the sports field is always a safe space.
Yeah. No, great stuff. Thanks for your contribution. Thanks for coming along, and I hope we'll catch up sooner. And perhaps we'll do another interview on something specific around the Bundesliga international program in South Africa, as well as on the continent. Thanks for coming along. Until next time, Sundes.
Thank you, Mr. David.
Thank you. Talk later. Okay, everybody. That brings us to the end of this bit of a long forum. It is our first. We're learning as we go along. They say you're building the plane whilst you're flying. We're not going to build the plane and wait until it's finished. Warts and all, we will convene again, perhaps in a shorter time space and even perhaps more pre-recorded videos. But I'm happy to have had you along, and appreciate your support and all your input. It's a pity Sumaya couldn't join us. I would have loved her to also make a short contribution. But I see Brett is there, and Rene was there. Whoever made a contribution, Warren looks like a steadfast future supporter. Thank you all for coming along, and that's where we'd leave it for now. Until next time.